right, kids, we are going live on the YouTubes. I hope everybody can see me out there. Let me get my screen up and going so I can see what is going on out there on the chats. How's everybody's night going? Like I said, we've got a big game here. I'll switch you guys over here. For you folks on Facebook, you're on my auxiliary phone. My battery on that's a little shorter lived than the other phone. So if I go out on Facebook, you can always find me on YouTube. So let me kind of let you in on what I got planned for the night. Besides lots of fun, if you know me, I love to have fun. The night will be kind of broke down in about 3 parts. First, I want to give you a little update on what's going on in Vegas. What we have here. Oh, sorry, a little audio crossover. There we go. So, I'm going to give you a quick little Vegas update. What's going on out here in Vegas? If you want to come out, what to expect. Who do we got here? Herkner, what's going on, my man? Anyway, just a little update on what's going on out here in Vegas. Like I said, what to expect and kind of what's on the horizon for out here in Vegas. Next, kind of the main theme of this live stream is every few months I talk about, well, hey, I need to talk more about my bartending experience. Generally, this channel's been about beer and wine, making beer and wine, reviewing beer and wine, maybe some infusion, stuff like that. But I really don't get into the art of bartending or talk about the skills behind it. I keep saying that I'm going to do it, and I've been a little lazy. I apologize for that. So tonight what I thought I would do is talk about how you learn all the crazy drinks. As a bartender, there's just a million drinks out there. A lot of times they have some of the same names, or not the same names, but like 2 or 3 names for the same drinks. It's kind of a process, and I thought I'd go over my process that I use sometimes when I talk to new bartenders. And if you're interested in getting bartending, or you just want to learn all these different drinks and how I do it, we'll go over that. Also, it's a great reason for me to make myself a drink, so that comes in handy. And then last but not least, I'll definitely talk about the big game. We have to call it the big game because Roger Goodell doesn't like we call it the Super Bowl. He doesn't like anybody else playing with his toy. We will do that, and I'll give you my picks on the games. Also, we'll go over some of the goofy prop bets on the game. That's what a lot of people really love. A lot of people will only bet on this game and not the other games, or you know, they won't bet a sporting event all year long, but they'll bet the Super Bowl because of the goofy prop bets. So let's start off with a little Las Vegas. Yes, Pat, I am the guy who makes homemade booze. I am an all-around booze lover, so you have come to the right spot. Anyway, real quick, let's kind of give an update on what's going on out here in Las Vegas. Right now, currently, the hotels and casinos are at 25% capacity. That goes for the rooms, that goes for the restaurants, the lounges that are open, any bars that are open. We're not really doing the nightclub thing right now. There's no pool parties, no concerts, major sporting events, nothing like that going on out here right now. Anything that is going on, it's at 25%. I believe there's limited conventions, like small meetings, I think under 50 people or what have you. Nestor, I appreciate that. I'm a man who loves beer, and I love reviewing beer and wine, so I'm glad you're joining us this evening. So like I said, we're at 25% right now. Like I said, no nightclubs or anything. I believe a couple of the comedy clubs are open, again, at 25% capacity. I think Brad Garrett's joint down at MGM is one. There are some places that have live music, but there's no dancing or anything like that. Again, the crowds are limited, but it's more ambient music. But I believe there is some live music going on out here. Word on the street is our bum of a governor is wanting to. Have you ever done a vodka snooter? I'm sure I've done vodka in some form or fashion. I don't know if I know a snooter, and I know what a snit is, but that's generally with a Bloody Mary. It's called a snit of beer, but I don't know what snooter is. Anyway, our governor, rumor has it that our governor, after the Super Bowl, after we've had a chance to make money, and which nobody will this weekend, supposedly next week he may come out. We're on what's called a pause. We've been on pause for about 2 months, supposedly, and it ends supposedly the 15th of this month. And our governor is supposedly going to talk soon, and the rumor has it that he's going to start opening up a little bit, maybe to 50%, maybe more. We don't know. I don't hold my breath with this guy. It is what it is, though. The word I get from people on the street and some of the things I've read on the corporate guidance that these companies do with their stockholders is that they kind of think it's where you flip the shot glass over and pour a bit in the bubble and snort the vodka. Whew. Pat, in 1993, I might have tried something like that, but I'm a little old for that kind of buffoonery, but I like where your head's at. Anyway, what I'm getting, like I said, between what the stockholders are hearing and from what other industry insiders are saying, we are looking at, who do I got here? Todd Matheson, big man, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a long time. What our governor, what the companies are saying is that pretty much the first quarter of this year, January, February, March, absolute wash, really not much going on. Hopefully second quarter, April to June, things will start picking up. And then sometime third quarter-ish, we're going to get normal-ish. I think it's going to be a long time before we get to really do our Vegas thing again. But there are some stories that I've seen out there that kind of imply we are heading in the right direction. One of the first one is Sting, the former lead singer of the band The Police, was projected to have a residency at Caesars last year, was going to get moved to about this time currently, but again, we're still only at 25%, and now it's looking like his residency is going to start in May, so that's second quarter. Another bit of potential good news down the line is the new Virgin Casino, which is the old Hard Rock, was projected to open about now. They were planning to be open for this Super Bowl. Usually a week or two before the Super Bowl, they always had the porn convention. If you've ever been to Vegas during that is an absolute freak show. I've never been to the actual convention, but I used to take some people. We would just sit at the lobby bar of the Hard Rock during the porn convention, and the freak show there was just enough. So, but anyway, they were projecting to open right now. It's looking like now, or rumor has it they're looking at April, which is again second quarter. So good for those guys who are, been waiting to work again. Also, another bit of news that kind of leads to sunnier days. The Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks was originally scheduled to open our new almost $2 billion stadium. Our governor said we need it, and then he ends up closing. Allegiant Stadium. Garth was supposed to be the first show. I think Wayne Newton was even supposed to perform at the show, but that got canceled, and they were looking at somewhere around this time. Again, we're at the pause. Right now, they have the event scheduled for July 10th this year. Now, they had sold out all 65,000 tickets real quick, which, again, if they're looking to pull this concert off, 65,000 people in a stadium, they're apparently going to have to lift a lot of the restrictions. So, again, if they can pull that off in July, then it appears, again, sunnier days are happening. And that is good because we cannot, out here in Vegas, sustain this model. A story came out the other day that I believe it was Circus was losing about $2 million a month at this pace. Circus is an old, small casino, and they can't keep up at $2 million out the door, every month. So, and I can only imagine the bigger casinos, Caesars, MGM, Wynn, Arbor, these companies are really hurting. So hopefully, again, we can turn this thing around before we do too much permanent damage. Another rumor story out there, the Sands Corporation, Las Vegas Sands Corporation, that owns the Venetian, the Palazzo, the Sands Convention Area. Their CEO and founder, Sheldon Adelson, recently died, but even before his death, they were talking about selling some of their properties out here. Now, what they were going to do is sell the physical property, lease back the property itself to manage and run. They would have the gaming license. If you have a gaming card with the Venetian or whatever, it's still good. Your comps, all that stuff are still fine, but that is the rumor that they're going to sell off the land to one of these hedge funds, what have you. And then the last little rumor is, unfortunately, where this thing is going in Las Vegas, and I kind of get it, again, times are tough out here, but apparently the Link Hotel, which was the old Imperial Palace, is cutting back on their pours, or how much spirit they pour in. If you order a vodka, tonic, or whatever on the casino floor, they're going to get chintzier. Now, again, I understand the bean counter's perspective, but this is something that's been kind of slowly going against guests over the years. You know, when I first got to town, a standard pour, even now the liquor guns, was 1.5 ounces, then it went to 1.25 ounces. Some places went to 1 ounce. Some of the downtown joints back in the day were 7/8 of an ounce. And again, the bean counter would tell me, well, if I cut 1/8 of an ounce or 1/4 of an ounce, we save 3 cents, 7 cents, whatever it is a pour. And yes, for the beverage departments or whatever, that is, you know, a savings, but you're part of the bigger picture, and what ends up happening is some of these people don't gamble as much or whatever, and if you know how the casino gaming works, you know, out of the average dollar bet, a casino makes on average 10 cents, 15 cents per every bet. Well, if this guy gets mad because he got a weak drink, yeah, it saved the company 15 cents on the drink, but you probably cost a few dollars if he quits gambling and goes somewhere else. So very short-sighted. Yes, Nestor, California. I feel bad for you guys. I get a lot of feedback of several friends in California, and Wes Graham, man, what is going on? Good to see you. Anyway, yeah, California. I feel bad for you folks in California. What you're going through there. I hope you drink a lot. That is that. But anyway, yeah, very short-sighted on the alcohol. And speaking of alcohol, I am going to fix me a drink. We're going to start talking about making cocktails, the art of learning cocktails, and the way I guess I would teach someone cocktails. So, standard rocks glass. We're going to start off with a little vodka, whatever your vodka choice. And if you want to play along at home, feel free. This is a party. Platt's Big Game Eve cocktail party. And we're going to add a little OJ. Now, I know we got a few professionals watching this, so we all know this is the world-famous screwdriver. Now, some folks out there, well, is that a cocktail? Is it a mixed drink? Why is it different from a Jack and Coke or a rum and Coke? Best way I can explain it is one has a name and the other doesn't. You know, Jack and Coke is whatever it is. We've assigned a name to vodka and orange juice. We call it a screwdriver. I'm sure the mixologists of the world or bar chefs, whatever we want to call, may argue with me on that. Fine, whatever, but it is what it is. This, I look at this as the kind of start the base to learn a ton of other cocktails. Joe Cleary, my man, what is going on? Weatherford, class of '89. Let's drink up. Anyway, so when I talk cocktails with people, I start with the base of the screwdriver. It's the simplest drink you can have, whether you call it a cocktail, a mixed drink, or not. It's real easy to expand from there. If you, instead of putting vodka in there, if I were to put peach schnapps in there, well, now that's a fuzzy navel. If instead of orange, if I have my vodka in there, but instead of the orange juice, I put in cranberry, that is a Cape Cod. You see, you can start building out, and once you start bartending, you learn that there's a lot of similarities to these drinks, and all it is kind of tweaking one or two ingredients. Again, if you start getting into the mixology world and making rhubarb mojitos or whatever, well, you know, then it starts getting a little sillier. But again, if you're at that point, hopefully you've done this a while. Again, you repeat. So anyway, like I said, we start off with the simple the simple vodka and orange juice. That is a screwdriver. Like I said, we got to a Cape Cod. We got to a fuzzy navel, which is peach schnapps instead of the orange juice. Is there a name for SoCo and Mountain Dew? We used to call it a brass monkey. Now, 100 years ago when I was younger, brass monkey was something else, but SoCo and Mountain Dew. West Grade, did we ever drink SoCo and Mountain Dew? You and I drank a lot of a lot of SoCo back in the day. I don't remember trying that little experiment, but who knows? The night's still young. Am I going to be a historian? Joe Cleary asked me if I'm going to be a historian for the Vegas Vegas while drinking. Oddly enough, Joe, I about this a little over a year or so ago, the casinos again tried to run me out of bartending, and I'd actually was looking to get a job with the Mob Museum downtown. They had someone that tour they have their own distillery, and they were looking for someone to lead tours. Luckily, at the time, I didn't lose my job there. West Grade. No, we didn't. I didn't think Mountain Dew was one of our options back then. Anyway, but Joe, yeah, I at one time thought about getting a job at the Mob Museum to talk about. They were looking for someone to talk about the history of Prohibition and distilling or whatever. And if anybody wants to pay me a lot of money to do that, I am your guy for sure. So back to the cocktail thing, real quick. Like I said, I work here on out. If we go with this drink, like I said, the vodka and the orange juice. If we put in the peach schnapps, we had a fuzzy navel. If we left the vodka in with the peach schnapps and the orange juice, that is a hairy navel. If we just start with the screwdriver, the vodka and the orange juice, but this time I add a melon liqueur, that is now a melon ball. Again, we're really just, now we have 5-6 drinks that are just based off vodka and orange juice. If you don't put vodka in, but add a little champagne and orange juice, that is a mimosa, which is another popular drink. If I was to throw a little cranberry in right now, that is now a madras, vodka with orange juice and cranberry. Again, we're just tweaking 1 or 2 ingredients, but we're really building on what we got here. Time for a little drink. Oh, that was great. Next, we're going to start stretching out a little bit. If we stick with this theme, but I float a little Galliano, which is an Italian liqueur. If you've ever seen that tall, skinny, urine-colored yellow bottle that's dusty and only gets pulled out once or twice a year, that's called Galliano, like since Italian liqueur. If I floated that, that is called a Harvey Wallbanger. If I switch gears and instead of orange juice with my vodka, I add grapefruit juice, well, that is now a Greyhound. If I make that same drink, but I salt the rim, that is a salty dog. So, again, we're just building. And again, once you make these drinks 2 or 3 times, they'll start really popping into your head, and you can really pick up on them. If instead of vodka, I added slow gin, which is more of a liqueur, lower ABV deal. Now we have the world famous slow screw. You might have heard a sister drink called a slow comfortable screw or slow comfortable screw against the wall. The slow screws, there's several of those out. So again, we branched out to the slow screw. Well, now we can branch out to 3 or 4 variations of the slow screw. Again, these things just really build on each other. And again, it will make your process, the way you think of cocktails, a lot simpler. That way, if, again, you start from a base cocktail that you know, work your way out. If you remember our Madras, which is vodka, cranberry, and OJ, well, if you throw out OJ and throw in the grapefruit, now you have a sea breeze. Everything. And we don't even have, like I said, we don't even really have to stick with vodka. We could take the vodka out and throw in tequila. And if you add a little grenadine, that is a tequila sunrise. And instead of grenadine, if you had blackberry brandy, that is a tequila sunset. So now we're already at a good 10 plus drinks that you're already building on off, again, this base vodka and orange juice. Just real simple way. Let me have a drink with me, kids. Oh, God, that hits the spot. Getting my vitamin C, very important. Just made solely in orange seltzer on ice. Pat, my man. Cheers. Next is another drink. Again, now we're getting another order out. If you remember our Hairy Navel, which is the vodka, the peach schnapps with the orange juice, throw out the orange juice, add cranberry, you have a woo-woo. And I was turned on to that drink by a lovely young lady that I might have had relationships with a long time ago, and that was her favorite drink. And since it was her favorite drink, it was my favorite drink for a little while. Next, we have another variation of this. Again, we stick with the screwdriver, vodka and orange juice. If you add grapefruit juice to it, now that is a Californian. And if we go back to the Harvey Wallbanger, which is the vodka, the orange juice with the Flor de Galliano, if you took out the vodka and added tequila, now we have a drink called the Freddy Fudd Pucker. So we're already at about 15 drinks or so just off that theme of the vodka and the orange juice. And that's how I started picking up drinks. That's how I started learning them. Bros Montes, good to see you too, brother. Drink up. Anyway, that's how I started learning drinks at first. Pre-internet, 100 years ago, you know, when there's barely electricity when I started bartending, there wasn't, you know, some of these tutorial stuff like that. And that's just kind of how I started learning, again, kind of working out from there. If you're wanting to get more into the cocktails or learning into different drinks, I'll suggest a few books to you. First and foremost, the original book I ever bought, and we're talking about 25 years ago, was the Mr. Boston Bar Guide. Years ago, that was the only book you would find in the bookstores for bartending, but it had all the base drinks. It had a nice little chart about how to make your own syrups, some basic bar techniques, cutting garnishes. Great little book there. A book I always carry with me when I do get to work is the Bartender's Black Book. This is another great book. It actually has a little more in here about, you know, some wine basics, some basic service basics on drinks, garnishes, which we won't get into tonight. One of the things, again, about these drinks that I picked, they're pretty simple. We're not really worried about garnishes and everything. But this book kind of gets into that. If you want to get really crazy and hardcore into the cocktail world, high-end cocktails, you know, you want to make a rhubarb mojito or something like that, I would suggest Tony Abu Ghanim's book, The Modern Mixologist, and there's several other great books out there on a little fancier mixology, you know, a little fancier garnishes, stuff like that. Again, I'm just going over the basics. Do bartenders have any mixed drinks with beer? Sometimes a shot of Jack. Yeah, there are several. Actually, because in the last 10, 15 years, because of the craft beer revolution, there's actually a lot more of these cocktails. I want to say a while ago, I say a while ago, it's probably about 8, 9 years ago, I did a cocktail competition with like an amber ale. One of the great things about the way the beers are going right now with all the different flavors and stuff, it's a little more complimentary. 20, 30 years ago, when you just would have had, again, your Bud Miller Coors, you might have had, you know, Sam Adams, it was first beer, some imports, or whatever. There really wasn't enough out there to really play with the different flavors and stuff like that. But now there's so many of these beers, so many varieties, so many different styles that can be complementary with beer. I'm kind of a simpleton as far as my personal consumption. I like beer-flavored beer. I like whiskey-flavored whiskey. So, but yeah, definitely you can play with beer. Like I said, there's some really cool beers. I can imagine taking something like one of my favorite beers as far as kind of a unique flavored beer is Belching Beaver. They have several peanut butter flavored beers. You know, if you wanted to add like a Godiva liqueur, chocolate liqueur with that peanut butter stout that already has some chocolatiness, that would probably be great. You know, maybe Bailey's in a stout, something like that. Just, you know, a lot of... Mr. Ginty, glad to see you aboard. Salute to you, young man. Hope all well with you. And I love your train videos. If I didn't have too many hobbies, I would pick up that hobby too. But anyway, yeah, well, back to the beers and the cocktails. There's several options. I haven't played around with it as much as I should, but I got a lot of free time right now, so maybe I should. Let's have another drink. All right. Anyway, that's a little bit there. And there's several great on YouTube, great cocktail websites. And depending on how low end, high end you want, probably one of the hottest guys out there right now, big on Facebook, but also on YouTube, is the Tipsy Bartender. That guy just absolutely crushed it. Of course, it helps that he has all them hot young girls that help him out with the videos. Uh, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to start bringing the ladies on the Platt Art channel. But most of the time, they just think I'm a creep. We'll leave it at that. Um, Let me see. If you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to jump in right now, either on Facebook or YouTube. This is Platt's, big game Eve cocktail party. Let's have a little fun. I'm love to chat it up. This night, I talking about the big game Eve. This night always used to be almost like Christmas Eve to me back in the day. I would almost, have that anticipation. I always would somehow get off from work on the big game, Super Bowl. I was not going to work that day. We had some kind of party. I had some kind of buffoonery plan for the Super Bowl. Well, and back in the day when ESPN actually was about sports or whatever, and before they went full MTV, the night before the Super Bowl would play 30-minute recaps of all the old Super Bowls. And I would stay up all night. I'd always fall asleep on the couch. I'd watch, Kansas City win Super Bowl IV. I'd, of course, watch my Cowboys in Super Bowl VII. Roger Staubach, one of my 5 favorite Americans of all time, win that Super Bowl. What do we got here? Chad Holland, my man. Good to see you on board. Brother, I hope all is well with you in your new venture. Mr. Holland is part of the reason why I moved to Vegas. He kind of gave me the kick in the pants to, hey, go get it done. You've been talking about it for a while, and go make the dream happen. And thanks, Chad, for that, brother. Anyway, I would stay up all night. And like I said, I'd fall asleep somewhere around the time that the Raiders are beating the poor Minnesota Vikings for the 4th time in their Super Bowl run. I'd fall asleep, and sometime I'd always seem to wake up about the time Scott Norwood would go wide right. Sorry, Buffalo Bills fan. But it was always great to watch those Super Bowls, see those old games, and like I said, I would just be full of anticipation. I'd stock up on beer and pizza and stuff like that. I've got some snacks going in the dehydrator. Got some snack sticks working for the big game tomorrow, so we are definitely fired up for the game. Talking about the game, let's actually talk about the game, break it down a little bit, more importantly from the betting angles. First and foremost, some of you may or may not know out there the kind of the big news for the game right now. News broke, I can't remember if it was late last night or early this morning, that Andy Reid's son, who's one of his assistant coaches, had gotten in a car accident with his kids. Car accidents happen or whatever. Well, apparently, within the last couple hours, it's come out that it was a DUI. Now, he had hit the sauce, hopefully not too many of these screwdrivers, but hitting the sauce the night before the big game with your kids in the car, I don't encourage that kind of behavior. If you're kind of a football historian or know a little bit about the Super Bowl, we've had several of these incidents the night before the game, and does not foretell well for that team. You might remember, I think it was Eugene Robinson for the Falcons when they played the Broncos in I think it was 98. He got popped for solicitation of prostitution the night before the big game. Might not have his priorities right. And of course, the Falcons got crushed that game. A few years later, you might remember, the one I definitely remember is Barrett Robbins, the center of the Oakland Raiders, when they played the Bucks, decided he was going to go to Tijuana and pull a rager, which I'm not totally against if you're on vacation, but not the night before the big game. He did not play that next day. It was implied that they kind of changed their philosophy. Raiders were a run-dominant team. Then they went to the pass the next day and got routed. Rich Gannon threw some interceptions, some pick sixes, and that's all she wrote. Gruden got his Super Bowl, which later led to a $100 million contract. So good for John. We'll start with that. I was already leaning toward the Bucks, but after that bit of news, We are definitely go Bucks. So let me talk about a little bit about the betting on this, because sports betting is legal in Vegas, and luckily now it's legal in more and more states. So maybe you're in a jurisdiction where you can place a wager. All the numbers I'm going to say are used comes from the Las Vegas Superbook at the Westgate Casino. Most of the time when you see any references to betting or anything like that, the Westgate Casino, which was the old Hilton back in the day, where Elvis used to play back in the day, is kind of the reference for this. I think ESPN now might have a deal with Caesars Entertainment, and their sports books are ran by William Hill, but most of the numbers are generally the same. You might get a half-point difference or a little difference. The current line before the news on Andy Reid's son coming out was Kansas City -3, and the total is 56. For those of you out there that don't know much about sports betting, aren't really into it, the -3 means basically the way to think about it is Kansas City is already starting down 3 points. They're already behind 3-0 is the way to think of it before the kickoff. The other way around, Tampa Bay would be plus 3 points. That would imply that they were up 3-0 already before the game kicks off. When I say the total is 56, that is the total number of points both teams will score combined. We have it at 56. Now, when you place wagers on the game, and if you just want to bet, you're like, well, I don't want to deal with the points or whatever. That's math. I don't like math. I think Kansas City wins, or I think Tampa Bay wins. Kansas City is -170, and Tampa Bay is plus 150. Now, if that math throws you off, here's what that means. When you bet anything in Vegas, it's in $100 increments, or it's based off a $100 bet. So if a team's -170 like the Chiefs, you have to bet $170 to win 100, and for Tampa Bay plus 150, if you bet $100, you win $150, or you get 100, you win $150. So that's how that works. So if you hear me say minus something, that means that's how much you have to bet to 100. If I say it's plus something, that's how much you win with a $100 bet. So what I thought we'd do tonight, just for a little fun, and again, if any questions or comments, concerns, Chris Moss, what's going on, my man? Any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to jump in. Like I said, let's have fun. Let's go over what's called the prop sheet. Now, what makes the Super Bowl really great? Any game you can bet on the winner, loser, totals, some basic bets, but Super Bowl, they let you bet on everything. You want to bet, one of the bets that people have called in on me on is the national anthem. How long the national anthem? I think a buddy of mine told me 2 minutes and 1 second is the over and under. Unfortunately, the acts that are, I guess there's 2 singers of the national anthem. I don't know either one of these acts, so I don't know how to handicap it. I normally would say if we had some sort of diva, some of the Mariah Carey types that love to oversing, take the over. They can't help themselves, but I don't know these performers, so that bet I'm not going to touch. But anyway, you go to these casinos and they have these sheets, pardon my language, and this one is probably thicker than some books I had in college. So let's go over some of the fun prop bets. Again, see maybe there's something out there you like, or some I like. So let's check it out. Like I said, they let you bet on goofier things. One of the most popular bets, one that everybody likes to do, is betting on the coin toss. Yes, you could bet on the coin toss. Now, a lot of people want to think, well, wait a minute, mathematically, it's an even money, half the time's heads, half the time's tails. People love to gamble, though. And it's a good way to give you a little lesson on how the betting and how the sportsbooks make money. The heads and tails, they're both at -102, which means you have to bet $102 to win 100 back. Now, if you think about it, like, wait a minute, that's 50-50 proposition. That's right. That's how the house makes money. You bet $102 to win 100 back, but it's an even money bet. Good way to think about it is if, let's say, one person bets tails, one person bets heads. They both pay in $102, so $204 are coming in, and whoever wins that gets their original bet back plus the other 100, so 200 comes out. The casino makes $4 on that bet. That's called the VIG. Some people refer to it as rake, whatever. That's how it works out here, and that's how the casinos make money. Now, oddly enough, that's a really good, minus 102 is really good. Most of the time on this bet, because this bet's available every year at the Super Bowl, normally it's anywhere between minus 105 and minus 110. Some of the chintzier casinos, will make it 110, which means, again, two people making those bets, 220 goes in for 200 out. They're making a $20 profit off those two bets instead of a $4 now. But the casinos, again, are trying to get people in, what have you. So that's how that works. Again, it's an even money bet, and when they set these lines, they try to get half the people to bet one side, half to bet the other, because they know if they get 50-50, they're going to win. It's when a lot of people bet on one side and that side still wins. A good example was New England, the year they went undefeated in the regular season. I want to say the first 8 games of the year, they covered and hit the over. And people just kept pounding them. They kept winning, and the casino kept trying to move the lines and couldn't keep up. And the casinos lost a lot of money the first half of that year. So, but anyway, that's how that kind of works sports betting wise. Let's look at a couple other fun props that I think are interesting. Will there be a missed extra point? Yes is plus 240. Hold on, kids. I'm getting a little old, so we got to put out the glasses. How's it make my hair look? Ladies, do I look better? Any ladies out there? I'd love some feedback. Anyway, extra point. Yes is plus that there'll be a missed extra point. No, minus 280. Now, if you've watched the NFL for a while, like I have, it seems like the last few years, for whatever reason, we're starting to miss a lot more field goals, a lot more extra points, stuff like that. I think at plus 240, basically getting almost 2.5 to 1, not a bad wager to throw out there. Next, the team to use a coach's challenge first. Which team will challenge something first? The Chiefs or the Buccaneers? The Chiefs are even money favorites. The Buccaneers are minus 120. I think both coaches are. I wouldn't doubt both coaches do it early. They're both coaches are these kind of mad genius types that kind of, I don't want to say overthink things, because they're both excellent coaches, but that one I'd go with the Bucs. Bruce Arians seems even more outside the box than Andy Reid. Let's keep moving down the line here. You know what? Before we do that, it's time for another cocktail. If you're out there drinking too, time to fix yourself another one. Real quick, back to talking about cocktails. Something I learned a long time ago, and if anybody out there is a bar manager or whatever, great little trick to teach bartenders if you're a young bartender. So look, I got plenty of ice here. And let's say I was bartending, I'm sending out a screwdriver or whatever. One of the tricks I used to do was you put ice in, and you kind of pack it, and then I get another ice cube or two in. Now you say, well, why is that important? Or, I don't want to drink ice down. Well, I could put the same amount of vodka in here, and now because there's extra ice taking up extra space, that drink seems stronger all of a sudden. And so I don't have to put in more product to make a stronger drink, and especially if you kind of know that person's going to kind of sip it for a while in a conversation, you know that, well, the volume will be replaced by the melted ice. So that's a little trick. I know that seems shady and underhanded, but I'm just kind of showing you how the sausage is made in the bar business. So we're going to make a new cocktail. This time I have a little bit of the peach schnapps. If you're interested in peach schnapps, if you like peach schnapps, go on my liqueur making playlist, and one of the first things I made was peach schnapps. Absolutely delicious recipe. People love it. So let's make a fuzzy navel. Ah, delicious. All right. All right, so let's keep working our way through this prop sheet. Next prop. Will the Kansas City Chiefs convert their first third point at tip? Yes is plus 110. No is minus 130. Now, it's hard to tell what that situation would be, 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 18 or what have you. I think the fact that Pat Mahomes is just that athletic, that, the fact that you're getting plus money on that bet, I don't think that's a bad bet at all. That kid could pull anything out of his butt at any point in time. So I kind of like the yes on there. Here's one that's interesting, and I might would love some feedback on that, or kind of a football theory here. Shortest touchdown in the game, the over and under is 1.5 yards. The over, that the shortest touchdown will be over 1.5 yards, is plus 150, and that it will be under the 1.5 yards is minus 170. So they're saying it's very likely that Bailey asks, you getting drunk, brother? I got some. I'm getting wild and some Bacardi and Land Shark. Wow, I never thought about that combination. I enjoy both products. I like where your head's at. Bailey, I am currently not drunk, but we may get there this evening. I've got nothing else planned, so, and unlike Andy Reid's kid, I'm not getting in the car and going to drive. All right, so shortest touchdown, 1.5 yards. I find that interesting. And again, we do see, football, you do see a lot of, 3rd and goal in the 1 yard line or situation. But think about it a little bit. On a football field, there's 100 different yard markers. You can score a touchdown from any one of them. And we're basically saying on that bet, someone has to score a touchdown from exactly the 1 yard line for it to go under. Like if it's at the 2 yard line, that's over. Well, just what are the odds that, again, that we start the play from exactly the 1 yard line to score a touchdown? That's kind of how I look at this deal. It's like, yeah, it does seem to happen in football a good bit of a time. And, probably a vast majority of touchdowns come from the 1 yard line in the aggregate, in the whole, all the games all year long. But just in a given game that randomly, at some point in time, we're going to get to the 1 yard line to score a play. Green Buddy, cheers, my man. Again, that we're going to score from exactly 1 yard line, and I'm getting plus money for the over. I kind of got to go with the over on that one. Next, we have first score of the game will be a touchdown or any other score, safety, field goal, what have you. The other score is plus 180. The touchdown is minus 220. Touchdown most likely, will be, but you're getting almost 2-1 for any other score. And if you watch a lot of Super Bowls, generally the first half of the Super Bowl is kind of a feel-out process. They start off slow and then ramp up the second half. Good chance somebody will take a field goal just to kind of get on the board. I kind of like the other score. Let's see what everybody's saying. 30 rounds. What is going on? Did not leave the house. I'm drinking gas station red wine I had on hand. I love your style. You know what? There's nothing wrong with a bottle of red lead, as a good friend of mine would say. Actually, I went on a bend about 2-3 years ago when I was doing my wine series, drinking, especially red wine. I was like, wow, I kind of like wine. I thought about becoming a wino because it seemed like a more mellow, classier kind of buzz, and I was like, I kind of like that, but I'm a good old beer and whiskey guy, so who am I fooling? All right, let's work on our way down the prop sheets. And all casinos do this, not just the Westbook or the Westgate Sportsbook. They generally have the most prop sheets, but if you're somewhere in the U.S. with Caesars, MGM Resorts, other DraftKings is another one. Their product is not available out here in Nevada, actually, but I hear they've got a wide range of stuff. Actually, I wish I could play fantasy sports out here again. I used to be a big fantasy dork. That probably was my hobby, really, before I got hardcore into home brewing, was fantasy sports. But out here, because at the time when DraftKings and FanDuel started, the casinos were scared of that as a challenge, so they kind of blocked that, and is what it is. Sorry to interrupt again, but what would you mix with Bacardi? I got unflavored and banana. Bacardi, something to mix. Banana. See, the banana kind of thrills me. They did, and I could be buzzed already, but I doubt it. They had a pineapple flavored one. Oh, sorry, gang. On Facebook, we're drawing down on Berry Wise. If you want to stick along, switch over to YouTube, Platt channel, and catch the rest of the broadcast. I'll continue to break down the prop sheets. We're going to go ahead and cut you off and head back to YouTube. All right, YouTubers, now we're on. Again, mixing with the Bacardi. One thing about Bacardi, and I talked about this in my light rum video, light rums are almost vodka-like in that sense. They're generally pretty clean, pretty neutral kind of spirits. So you could go, you know what? You can go with a screwdriver, a variant on a screwdriver. Just throw rum and OJ, and then if you want to play along, do a Madras, but with rum, vodka, and cranberry. Whatever, work out. Once you start, especially light rums like a Bacardi, again, once you add the mixer, you're really taking out, the rum essence, or you're not, if you drink just a shot of rum and a shot of vodka, you could tell the difference. Once you start adding the mixers, you kind of lose yourself. So feel free to kind of do what you do with vodka, but with that Bacardi rum. That hopefully might help you out there. Pat Winter says, any soda you can mix with Bacardi. Yeah, you can go with any kind of soda. And again, that's the great thing about vodka. And what I've been kind of thinking lately about drinks in general is that, yes, there's a plethora of all these flavored spirits, which is great. But you can work the other end. There's so many flavored sodas and, what have you. Good examples, if you, for some reason, had different varieties of Kool-Aid. Go crazy, raspberry Kool-Aid, cherry Kool-Aid, what have you, and then kind of pick your flavor there. And again, light rums like a Bacardi are similar to vodka. They can just be a alcohol backbone to whatever drink you make. All right, let's get back to talking about some prop bets. Will there be a special team or defensive touchdown? Yes is plus 250. No is minus 300. I probably would have said, if you'd asked me about this before the NFC AFC title games or whatever, I said, I don't know. The teams that are going to make the Super Bowl are really good teams. They don't have those type of turnovers. But if you watch the NFC title game, Brady had, 3 interceptions? Very un-Brady-like, but I don't know if that's indicative or anything, but he went sharp. Again, a pick six is very possible. And if you've been checking out the Kansas City situation, they have some, they lost Fisher, their tackle, and I think they had a couple of linemen go through the COVID protocols. I don't know if they've been cleared or not. I think they're good, but you never know. If you have any kind of questions on the offensive line, then again, the pass rush on the other team becomes potent, and again, a random interception, a fumble becomes possible. I think at plus 250, that might not be a bad number to go with. Next, will there be a lead change in the fourth quarter? Yes is plus 200. No is minus 240. Again, as I said earlier, if you kind of watch these Super Bowls over the years, it seems they start slow and then ramp up at the end. Now, we did have a stretch there, especially in the 80s and 90s, where these things were blowouts, and you really did have, lead changes, stuff like that. But the last few years, we've had some really exciting, Super Bowls. We finally had an overtime Super Bowl. I think at plus, at plus 200, 2-1, I think there's a very strong chance that we get some kind of lead change. So I kind of like that number. Total number of different players to have a pass attempt. This is one of my favorite prop bets every year. The number is 2.5, over and under 2.5. So let's think about this bet. The over is plus 130. Just remember that. And under is minus 150. Let's think about this a little bit. You have two quarterbacks on each team, Mahomes and Brady. We pretty sure one of them two will throw a pass. So any other human not named Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes will throw a pass. For one thing, I said both these coaches like to push the envelope, think outside the box, all that kind of fun stuff. So the odds of someone else, a halfback pass, something like that, is very good. Also, too, let's diagnose, again, the quarterbacks. Brady's not a kid anymore, so, again, an injury is always a possibility, which means you bring in another quarterback who would be the third person to throw a pass. Mahomes has offensive line issues, and he was injured, if I remember right, at some point this year with minor injury, whatever. So again, the odds that another quarterback might have to step in are out there. So again, at plus 130, I think that's a reasonable bet to go. Let's see what else we got going. If anybody wants to chime in the comments, whatever, let us know who you think's going to win this game. Any predictions, what have you. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see what else. Well, Patrick Mahomes scored a touchdown, and what they're referring to is either a rushing or receiving touchdown, a non-passing touchdown. Yes is plus 300. No is minus 360. He is too athletic, and again, Andy Reid's willing to work outside the box. If you remember a couple years back, Nick Foles caught a touchdown pass. Well, if Nick Foles can do it, I'm sure Pat Mahomes could do it. Again, at plus 300, 3-1, if that would happen, I don't think that's a totally unreasonable way to go. All right, we're working along here. I think all we got left, is MVP. Who will win MVP of the game? Of course, Pat Mahomes is by far the favorite. He's less than even money. He, according to this sheet, and these odds that I gave you could have changed. I got this sheet a few days ago. Odds are always fluctuating. A lot of times, especially at this point, the night before the game or whatever, some big money bets are coming in that kind of move the spreads. I haven't seen anybody doing some of the $1 million bets in the back. I remember, I think the year the Colts won, I want to say Phil Ivey put $1 million down on them. Every year you generally get somebody that throws like $1 million bet down, but I haven't heard of anything so far. But anyway, Pat Mahomes is the favorite, 11-10. You have to bet 11 to win 10. Tom Brady is another big favorite, 5-2. 11-2, 5-2. And of course, those are always the favorites. Very logical to go with this guy. The two guys I'm going to throw out there that I think have a good chance, and again, I think you're getting a good number on, is both tight ends. We're 99% sure that Gronk will go in the Hall of Fame, and Kelsey, if he hasn't earned that yet, will probably so. Just two insanely talented future Hall of Famer guys. Kelsey, you're getting 12-1. Gronk, on this sheet, says 50-1. I bet on the Caesar app, and I got 40-1 on him. I think, again, a future Hall of Fame tight end who is Brady's buddy, and they've played of all the guys that Brady's playing with in Tampa, that's the guy he knows and has played Super Bowl with. Don't be surprised if Gronk gets a lot of passes thrown to him. And again, at that price, both those guys, Hall of Famers, I think those are actually my two favorite bets for MVP. My overall assumption is I took Tampa Bay and the over 56. That's where I think the game's going. The NFL in general is just scoring more points. These are two dynamic offenses with two incredible quarterbacks. If you think about 56 points, you're looking at like 29, 28, or covers that, or 30, 27. 30, 27 is the over. Well, both these teams can easily score 30 points apiece. I think over 56 is a reasonable play for that, and that's where I'm going. I parlayed the two. I think I bet $20 to win 72 or something like that. I'm not a big-time sports bettor, so don't take what I say too seriously. So, like I said, love some feedback. Let me know what you guys think about the Super Bowl. I think the band The Weeknd, which I think I've heard of one song of theirs. I think they're doing halftime. Oddly enough, they've announced a concert. They were supposed to do some kind of concert out here, and I want to say they've pushed it back to 2022 already out here in Vegas. I can't remember. Supposedly they have a Vegas connection. I don't remember. Oh, everybody take a cold drink, get your vitamin C in. So yeah, that's my diagnosis on the game. What have you? Back to the cocktail thing. Let's see. I can't think offhand. I know a couple people, like I said, I know we have a couple of professionals out there watching. I can't think of the name of anything rum based in orange juice. We were talking about rum earlier. I got a little rum, so we might make a little rum and OJ. And of course, I've got the back bar. A lot of these are empty, but a lot of them are full. So I have a lot of room to play. Like I said, if anybody out there, anything you want to talk about, feel free to chime in. I actually covered some things faster than I thought I would. So, but let's see, we're about 55 minutes in. I want to at least go a little bit longer, chat with everybody. Again, this is a good reason for me to have a drink, if anything. Oh, one of the other things they do for the Super Bowl, since we're talking about the different kind of bets, whatever, is they give alternate lines. Like I said, the standard line is Kansas City -3 and the total 56. But you can find alternative spreads. If you think Kansas City is a huge favorite, you could go Kansas City -7.5, and you would get +200 and all that. The other side of that, Buccaneers would be -240. If you're a huge Kansas City fan, you think of an absolute blowout. Kansas City Chiefs -21.5 would be +800 or 8-1, and the Buccaneers would be -1400 to cover that. So that's some of that. Alternate totals, 42.5. If you thought it'd be a low-scoring game and you decide to go under 42.5, you would get +425 or 4.25 to 1. So that's some of those out there. Also, one of the fun bets they do out here is kind of what they call cross sports prop bets. You can bet on, well, Tampa Bay have more points than LeBron James scores tomorrow. Usually the NBA will throw in an early NBA game or two during the day because the game doesn't kick off till 6 o'clock Eastern, so I'm sure the NBA has LeBron doing something tomorrow or Giannis or whoever. So they always have some kind of prop bet. For years and years, it's always Kobe Bryant. And then the last few years, it's become like LeBron James. They'll take whoever the league most popular player is, and again, whatever he scores versus that. Or you may have, if Manchester United has a soccer match, how many goals they score to how many field goals the Tampa Bay Buccaneer place kicker kicks. So those are always interesting, fun type prop bets. Some places do stuff like who says hi mom first or whatever. That's generally an offshore thing. And to me, that's kind of risky because now you're not. It's not so much who decides to say hi first; it's who the cameraman decides to focus on, which could be a little insider info there. Let's see. Oh, I'll give you a little scoop on. Maybe we'll talk about things I've got kind of going for the channel. As you see, last month or so, I've started shooting stuff. I took an extra bedroom in the house, kind of turned it into a studio. I may add some more shelf stuff like that. I probably won't do any actual like brewing up here. I mean, this is a room. I don't have the vent hood or whatever. But I will definitely be shooting more in this room and may spice up some things. I've got some extra lighting or whatever, new cameras, a new camera at some point, or new editing software may be coming. I'm working on some snack sticks or maybe some jerky videos. Actually talked to the guy in my local homebrew shop, and he's giving me some ideas on brewing. I'm definitely, my interest definitely peaked on the hard seltzer that I recently did. Like I said, nailing that, I can make now some kind of clear alcoholic beverage at roughly 5% alcohol, real easy. And again, the possibilities are limitless because again, I have that neutral base. Whether I want to try different, Kool-Aid or the Mio or stuff like that, candy if I want to infuse the stuff with candy. Definitely been playing around with the candy aisle lately. If there's anything you want me to try, some people have pointed out that they wanted me. I think one of the things they wanted me to try was using actually non-sugar sweeteners. May do a video on back sweetening with that. I did a video a while back on back sweetening cider. One of the things when you ferment something out, you kind of ferment out the sweetness. Like the average palate out there now does like sweetness, so in that video I talked about how to kind of stop fermentation, because part of the problem is if you'd add additional sugar on a brew, you would kick back off fermentation and kind of defeat the purpose. You might get a little extra ABV, which most people are a fan of, but you don't really you don't get that sweetness you want. One of the ways to combat that may be using, that stevia, something like that. So that may be a video in the future. I probably should get back onto some of the ciders and meads. It's been a long time since I've done some of those. I haven't brewed a batch of beer in a while. I should get back into that, especially because I generally like brewing this time of year instead of the summer, because out here in Vegas we get so hot. So even with air conditioning, where you can crank air conditioning and I kind of keep stuff on the counter. Where I do have a keg fridge I've turned into a fermentation vessel, but it's kind of limited in size, and I got some other stuff in there. So that's where we're at on the brewing thing. I generally like to brew in wintertime, just because I'm able to control temperature better in the wintertime than I am in the summertime. But I should probably get back to brewing a little beer. I'm thinking about doing a series, kind of similar way I did through the beer style series as far as trying them. I've been thinking about brewing through the different beer styles. Some are easier than others, and again, that would mean I'd be brewing through the summertime. That might be something I do. Time out for a drink. Actually, I'm going to fix me a fresh one, freshen it up. All right. We are going to go melon ball now. 30 rounds. Yes, 30 rounds. The buffets. That is a bummer deal. And I unfortunately, I think it's just the casinos being cheap. There are a couple of buffets in town open. I think on the Strip, the Wynn buffet is open. Off the Strip, just south of the Strip on Las Vegas Boulevard is South Point. Their buffet's open. Both of them are, well, I believe the Wynn's it's more cafeteria style, where you're walk along and they have your plate and they're like, oh, I'll take the mashed potatoes, I'll take some turkey and gravy, this, that, and the other. I think at South Point, you basically get a list of all the items. It'd be like this. You'd have a list of all the items. You're like, all right, well, give me some spaghetti and bolognese, give me a couple dinner rolls, give me some pork chops, kind of like that. Yeah, that is what's going on. It's terrible. Part of the problem too is out here the buffets are generally, well, they're not gourmet, and no one's kind of beating down that door. They're generally used for, you get these big conventions, you get people that just kind of want to eat, not necessarily a fancy dining experience, want to get in and out, and that's what they're used for. Also, when they're great for comps for gamblers. Donnie Moore, welcome to the show. So little melon liqueur, little vodka. We've got melon ball. Now normally Midori's involved. Because I love these little mini balls, I got a poor man's Midori in there. But normally Midori, normally a melon ball has a little more color to it. But back for the buffet, especially with casinos that have high-end poker rooms, your Wynn's, Bellagio's, Venetian, stuff like that. That's generally what they comp those guys, because they don't want to comp those guys too much. The casinos don't make a huge amount of money on casino poker. In the past, the poker rooms were kind of kept around because those guys usually were degenerates on the blackjack tables and sports betting. So, all right, well, we'll keep that. And they do make money, but not as well as that same square footage would be better utilized with, say, slot machines. But anyway, the buffets were kept around for that. And again, there's not a lot of poker. A few of the poker rooms were open, but they have plexiglass and they have dividers, and you can only have X amount of players per table, and most poker players don't want to play short-handed. There's I don't know how many of you out there play poker or whatever, but there's kind of a disadvantage as far as something called the rake, what the house takes of each hand to deal the hand. And so you generally want more players at a table instead of less. So there's not as much poker being played, but hopefully some of these buffets come back, because there's absolutely some wonderful buffets. Caesars, they remodeled their buffet a few years ago called the Bacchanal Buffet, and it's insane. The choice. They have a separate aisle for the desserts and just all the different kind of cookies and muffins and stuff. Oh my God, it'll blow your mind. I used to get comps there too, dang it. So that's it on the buffets. There's a good chance, even if we open up tomorrow, just everything open up tomorrow, that some of those buffets won't be back. And the thing is, the strips dominate, but two major companies, Caesars, which is actually, it's named Caesars Entertainment, but they were bought by a company called El Dorado recently, and but they still call the company Caesars Entertainment. All their casinos, they have about half the strip, and the other half of the strip's MGM. And in their mind, they're like, well, every casino doesn't need to have a buffet. If you want a buffet, go to the neighbor, the sister property. So probably what's going to happen is like every other buffet is going to get cut out. Some of the real high-end popular ones, again, like Bellagio, Caesars, what have you. How much money do I have on the game and what team? Like I said, I'm not a huge sport bettor. I'm not a, knowledgeable on this stuff. I put 20 down on a two-team parlay. I have the Buccaneers +3, and I have the over at 56. So, as a good friend of mine would say, Gronk if you're horny. Degenerate. But yeah, Pat, that's what I have on the game. I'm not a huge sports bettor now. I do know some huge sports bettors, and I can tell some great stories about that. And again, normally, and I haven't heard this year, but normally every year someone comes out and will place at least $1 million bet on the Super Bowl. Now, oddly enough, you can't just walk up to the window and bring $1 million cash to that. Someone got to explain. Generally, anything, depending on the casino, anytime you go over $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, well, for one thing, anytime you walk up to a table or anywhere and place $10,000 or more, there is an IRS paperwork you have to fill out. They kind of want to track the money. So again, a lot of people aren't just randomly walking in with that kind of cash, even though I have seen it before. But once you get to the point of like over $100,000, $200,000 on a bet, that's generally enough money a lot of times to kind of move lines. And so the casinos are kind of leery of that. So generally you already have to be a big name player. Like I said, the one I mentioned was Phil Ivey, who is if you're not familiar, Phil Ivey is considered one of the best poker players, if not the best poker player in the world. He is a huge gambler. The stories are out there. ESPN did a deal on him years ago about how much he plays. The gentleman will lose $1 million or $2 playing craps just in a heartbeat. So $1 million sports bet is not a huge deal to him. Now to the casino it is, but to him it's not. And that, again, this time of year, March Madness is another one that kind of attracts that kind of action. But anyway, yeah, you just can't walk up and do that. And those guys generally have a host that's kind of communicated ahead of time. Hey, Mr. Big wants to place this kind of wager. Sometimes they say, well, we'll let you go to $500,000, we'll let you go to 300, $750,000, or, what have you. And sometimes that bet has to get laid out in stages. I think one of the most popular examples was a couple years ago when the Astros won the World Series. And then the next year when they played again, there was a gentleman that owned like a chain of furniture stores in the Houston area, and he placed a series of wagers, like I want to say $8-10 million, maybe even more than that, like over $10 million on the Astros. Well, not one casino wanted to take all that action, so it kind of got broken up, and there's people out there that can help facilitate that bet. So you kind of spread it out. You may send $1 million to Caesars, $1 million to Wynn, $1 million to MGM, and work your way down the line. That's how that gets worked out. But again, sometimes those wagers get placed, and there's always the offshore books, which is kind of outside Vegas' realm, so I really don't know how all that works. I've been told by the sports bears I know that sometimes you get better odds offshore or a lower. I was explaining the -102 on each side thing. You get a lower vig. Danny Armour. I only bet on boxing. Only sport I follow. Sure. You know what? Yes, I like betting on UFC. I have boxing when I was a kid. Right, 70s, 80s. I grew up with Muhammad Ali and stuff like that, and of course it was huge back then. And I love hearing the stories of the old timers out here that were here when Ali fought. 1980, he fought Larry Holmes at Caesars. ESPN did a documentary on that. I can only imagine what the town was like back then. I know Sinatra was at the fight, stuff like that. Unfortunately, boxing's not marketed the way it used to be. And I remember as a kid, on the Ali fights, they would show them like a week later on ABC or whatever, but they always had a strong undercard. You could see a guy like a Wilfred Benitez, or I think Sugar Ray, after he got out of the Olympics, I think one of his early fights was on an undercard for Ali. Well, holy cow, you see Ali and Sugar Ray on it? Oh my gosh. And just, unfortunately now, the pay-per-views that get put out when a Mayweather fights or Pacquiao fights, I'm sure there's talent on the undercard, just people don't know it, they don't market it. Nobody, unfortunately, you'll order the pay-per-view, but you'll ignore the first 3 fights. You're making melon balls or eating pizza wire, and that's a shame because there is talent. I do have a personal story, though, that is cool. Years ago in 2003, I came out for the first Roy Jones Jr. Antonio Tarver fight, which Tarver did win, even though they said Jones. But on the undercard was Winky Wright, and Winky Wright to me was one of the great middleweights of his time, a really good fighter, and that was nice. And that's, I think, if I can encourage boxing, if I can talk to Bob Arum out there, let's kind of get back to that, to where we have some better undercards so people can catch some of these kids that are coming up, because there is talent in boxing. Unfortunately, just UFC has done a terrific job of doing what they do, and especially being headquarters in Vegas now, they've taken the lead in Vegas over the boxing. If it weren't for Mayweather, there wouldn't be that much boxing in Vegas, but Floyd being stationed here and still doing whatever it is he's doing, whatever celebrity he wants to fight this week, or you know what? I would like, Donnie, I'd love your opinion on this. What you think about now, the celebrity fighting thing, and you've got, you had the whole undercard of the Tyson Jones fight. You had that Logan Paul or whatever fighting Nate Robinson, and now they're talking about Logan Paul fighting a UFC guy, Ben Askren, which, Ben, buddy, if you're watching this, please win that fight for society's sake. Now, unfortunately, if you're a UFC guy and watch Ben Askren's striking game, you're like, unbelievable wrestler, one of the great wrestlers of all time, but his striking game is not that great. Ben, don't don't screw up. Like I said, I don't think society wants that. Iron Mike, yes, Mike Tyson, love that guy. Actually, I can tell stories. One great thing about living out here, actually Mike lives out here, and one great thing about living in Vegas, you run into these guys randomly. I can tell you a funny story, and again, everybody knows about Mike's conviction for the rape thing or whatever. For a while, I lived in a community that was next to Mike's community, and there's that app on the iPhone where you find out where sex offenders are or whatever, and Mike was our neighborhood sex offender. But I told my roommate, I was like, hey, we got to have Mike over, grill out sometime. And I have seen him out and about in the casinos or wherever. I don't know if any of you have ever met Mike Tyson in person, but it is something to behold. He actually, size-wise, we're about the same height or whatever, and I'm, just because I'm a fat guy, I'm a larger guy, but there's just, man, you could just feel the power. Like, you don't even have to touch the guy or see, you could just feel the power in him. You could just... I think Joe Rogan said this on his podcast. You can just feel the danger when he walks in the room, and when he walks by, you're just like, whoa, that guy can do whatever he wants. No one's, even at his age now, you're like, you can't pay me enough to mess with that guy. So, but yeah, I love Iron Mike, and I would love, if anybody saw the Iron Mike fight with Jones, I'd love your opinion on this. There was a couple times in that fight where you could tell he wanted to uncoil. That for one thing about Mike, he always got a low center of gravity and could just explode. And you could tell that fight 2 or 3 times that he was ready to uncoil. That either again because he hadn't fought in so long, he couldn't pull the trigger, or just Roy still probably this day is the quicker of the two, and so that might have been a little problem, but. Yes, 30 rounds. The idea that it's going to be... Well, now see, I do have a slightly different opinion on that. I think if we're going to go that route, we should just go, as movie Tropic Thunder would say, we'll go full retard. Shit, at this point, let's have, The Rock fight somebody in a boxing match or something. I mean, let's get Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan in a boxing match or something like that, or have... Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera in a bike. I mean, if we're gonna go that route, let's not even play around with the athleticism part. And I know back 20 years ago they had the celebrity boxing thing or whatever. Like I said, if we're heading that way. Let's just get silly. If we're no need to pretend. Yeah, no. Mike won that fight. Again, it was kind of a silly deal, but again, it was kind of cool to see, old timers, or we kind of appreciate them. It was just nice to see at least them in the ring or whatever. Well, I do have a question to those who watch the fight. What do you think about the whole just marijuana thing the whole time, the whole theme? Snoop just smoking like a chimney. Those guys must have got a contact high. I heard Tyson, speaking of which, was high when he did that fight, which kind of, again, makes me think, man, what if he wasn't? What if, he was totally... Like I said, I got a feeling he's got one punch left in him. And when I say one punch, I mean against a legitimate heavyweight now. I'm not saying he necessarily win. I don't think he's got the gas tank for 12 rounds. But somewhere in there, he could throw one more punch to drop pretty much anybody on this planet. And I still believe that. Again, you could just tell, he had that low center of gravity, ready to explode. Just, yeah, I think he's got one punch left in him. I don't know if I want to see him in Holyfield. Yeah, contact high, yeah. Like you're going to a Pink Floyd concert in 1978. That's probably what it was like. Yeah, like I said, I got the promotional deal, and they were out in California. Of course, it's legal there, it's legal here, whatever, and everything. And if we get Snoop getting high, I'm not against that. But yeah, as far as I guess if I was a competitor, I'd be like, well, hey, wait a minute now, and we don't need to fog up the place. All movie productions. Actually, I've heard, I've got a source out in L.A. that actually runs or works in one of the big studios, and that there's somehow they've got exempt, so they're still doing the movie productions. But yeah, let's get some more fights. Last thing, boxer loses punch. Yeah, Mike definitely. Speaking of boxing, I don't know if you gentlemen have heard the sad news today. We lost Leon Spinks, former heavyweight champ. I got to meet Leon a few years back, and unfortunately, he was not doing well back then. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised he made it this long. I met him at the Luxor used to have a sports museum, and they were having a grand opening, and I met him there. Nice enough man, wife, absolute treat. But you can tell he's seen better days. Oddly enough, not heard much from his brother Michael. I can't remember the last time I think I've heard anything from Michael Spinks. Wonder what he's got going on today. That's why I love live stream. When I woke up this morning, I was not thinking about boxing talk, but that's a great thing about what we do, open to the world through YouTube. Any kind of conversation can start up. Speaking of boxing, man, again, I can't wait till they bring back boxing back out here. I was fortunate enough when I first moved to town or first started bartending. One of my first big weekends on the Strip, I'd worked downtown a little bit before, but first weekend on the Strip was the Mayweather De La Hoya fight. And I'm telling you, this town is a different town when you get a big boxing match. It really is. There's a vibe, there's a buzz. The Mayweather-McGregor weekend was insane. Oh my God. Not good for boxing or whatever, but man, it was great for our pocketbooks. The high rollers were in. Um, that's why, Connor, if you're listening, get back into fighting, because brother, we need you. We got bills to pay around here, and that guy pays the bills, and Floyd pays the bills. Again, I understand Floyd's at the point in his life where these exhibitions whatever make more sense and everything, and I don't want to see Mayweather Pacquiao again. That again, a great weekend for us out in Vegas. If you're bartending, working at casinos, did not work out what we thought as far as entertainment. Boxing wise, again, saw that fight 5 years too late. Some people say that's the intelligence of Mayweather on the boxing side. As far as the business side, he didn't take some of these fights that could have been him in the ass. He fought some of these guys older. He fought Sugar Shane Mosley later in his career. Some of these other fights, it's a Fury Joshua. Yes, that would be a great fight. They're probably going to do that though over in London. Won't bring that here, which again I totally get. I think the rumor is they're kind of waiting for things to open up to put it into Wembley, which makes absolute sense. But man, I would love to have either one of those guys fighting over here in Las Vegas. We got a new stadium now. Again, if Bob or one of you promoters are listening, eventually this idiot governor will be gone and we can actually do some business. Real quick on that deal, there is a possibility that Vegas could be getting a Super Bowl in 2024. It appears that due to some scheduling conflicts, the 2024 Super Bowl is supposed to be in New Orleans, but it now would fall on Mardi Gras, and we know what the priority is down there in New. Maybe you'll get another Pac-Man fight. Yeah, Manny's good for business out here too. I think, unfortunately, especially after that Mayweather fight, I think he's just not viewed quite the same. Even though I think he's still got something in the gas tank. I think it has to be the right opponent. I'm not sure I want to see Pacquiao McGregor. It probably would sell. That as far as for boxing, that's kind of sad. For the casinos would be nice, but I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I necessarily want to see that. Back to the potential Super Bowl. Anyway, there's conflict on the 2024 Super Bowl with New Orleans and the scheduling of the Super Bowl with Mardi Gras. So supposedly it's back up for selection for different cities. One of the rubs is in the NFL, well, if you build a new stadium, we'll give you a Super Bowl. Dallas got a Super Bowl. Minneapolis, when they built a new stadium, got a Super Bowl. When they built the new stadium in the Meadowlands, they got a Super Bowl, even though an outdoor Super Bowl in New York. I mean, it worked out that they got through the game. I think it was a day or two later they had a big blizzard, and that game was such a blowout that it kind of didn't matter. But so there's a possibility that the NFL, we were supposed to have the NFL draft here this year. 30 rounds, funny you say that, and you can find this on YouTube, and actually you can find me at the fight on YouTube. You might remember Shaq had a show called Shaq Versus, where Shaq would do a different sport each week. I want to say he played like flag football with Ben Roethlisberger, stuff like that. But he fought an exhibition fight with De La Hoya at the pool at Planet Hollywood. And if you go back and you find the show, the first shot, they kind of come in over the ring, and they come in, and you see me in the crowd in that shot, me with a buddy. He was my boss at the time and gotten tickets. He knew a person kind of thing that works out here in Vegas. Well, we got free tickets to go to this TV taping, and they were, here's the best part about that deal. They were handing out free beer and hot dogs for the fight. So I got to see Shaq fight De La Hoya with free beer and hot dogs, winning. But so I have seen Shaq in person. Actually, it was really cool. So they fought, and you could tell it wasn't faked or whatever, but you could tell they kind of played around, and they did a deal. I think Bernard Hopkins was in De La Hoya's corner or something like. I can't remember that, but Bernard Hopkins got involved at the end. And at the end of the taping, Shaq came out, thanked everybody for coming, got on the mic, and De La Hoya was just peppering him with the body shots, and he, hey, that crap hurt, holy cow. or when you could hear the punches. But I have seen Shaq fight, and I think you can find that on YouTube. I'm a Pats fan, and I know Brady and the Bucks will win. Well, I tell you what, over the last 20 years, one thing I've learned, I be careful betting against Brady. That guy, holy cow. Harold, try Kettle One vodka. Harold, let me respond to that real quick. Everybody has their own favorite brands of vodka. I'm not going to say that. But if you've seen my spirit videos talking about vodkas and stuff like that, vodka, as far as quality-wise, there's really not a huge difference from the different brands. I kind of go into, the actual production of vodka, and especially here in the U.S. Now, Kettle One is made foreign, but here in the U.S., most vodkas actually come from ethanol distilleries. They take, basically they're neutral grain spirit that gets cut by water. Sky vodkas, and these like that, they're all pretty clean vodkas. And again, once you start making melon balls and screwdrivers, stuff like that, you're really not going to taste it. So I don't like overpaying. I beg to differ. Again, Kettle One being outside the U.S., they have a little different, business model. But at the end of the day, a reflex still is a reflex still is a reflex still. Column stills are the process, the physics behind distillation is still kind of the same. Now, Kettle One's not, not a bad price vodka, good clean vodka. I'm not besmirching in any way. I just kind of telling you my personal story. And again, from someone that, again, does this professionally and has seen too many overpriced vodkas. We had too many of those. I kind of steer people, and Kettle One's in that price range where, again, it's elevated compared to Sky or Tito's or whatever, but it's not out of hand. I remember years ago getting a pitch on a vodka that was distilled 100 or filtered 100 times or filtered through diamonds or whatever, and I'm just, boys, stop. Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Skull vodka. Yeah, we had it in a bar I used to work at. Again, a decent clean vodka, but again, now Crystal Skull, and I'll give you a little inside baseball on that one. The big chunk of that price is a higher price deal, and it's because of the bottle. If you're kind of a regular viewer of the channel, I've told the story before. I had my own spirit company years ago. Our product was going to be apple pie moonshine, and one of the things when we were deciding, we were starting the company and started dealing with contractors on different things, including the bottles, labeling, stuff like that. One of our original ideas was like, well, hey, because Crystal Skull, I think, had come out around that time. Like, hey, why don't we get a bottle shaped like an apple, and like the cork would be like the little top, and you pull out. So I contacted some manufacturers, and the price on that is insane. I would have had to up my bottle price, $5-6 a bottle easily, just for the bottle, per bottle. One of the deals is you had to buy, for those type of bottles, you have to buy a custom mold from a company. You have to buy 2 of them. They, at the time, were like $30,000 a piece, and you had to have this kind of production run. You had to produce X thousand of bottles, again, at that inflated cost, and it was just where the price point I wanted to be with our product. I wanted to shoot for $19.99. Again, something like apple pie moonshine water, there's no need to charge $40, $50 for that. But if I'd gone with that bottle, I was going to probably have to go $30. And it just, I knew I would have chased some people off on that price point, so we didn't go with it. And the reality is, so if you start a spirit company or whatever, you can get standard bottles like Tito's is a prime example. That's a basic bottle. That's a basic cap. He does have like the copper coating on it, whatever. Basic label. Again, it can be more about the product inside than outside. I understand. Again, Grey Goose is a perfect case study on this. They were the first one with kind of the tall, sleek bottle, the frosted glass. It looks nice. And again, they were able to pass that cost on the consumer, and the consumer perceived value. But something with apple pie moonshine, probably someday we'll get to premium moonshines and flavored moonshines where somebody will pay $40-50 for a moonshine. But my first drink was 7 and 7. Oh, Donnie, I have drank your body weight in 7 and 7s. Oh God, I can tell. If you, between the years 2010 and 2020, if you saw me playing video poker in Las Vegas, there was a 7 and 7 in front of me. Just that was Thanks, Harold. That was my weapon of choice. Actually, I used to tell the bartenders, give me a 21. They're like, a 21? Well, my original joke was give me a 14, and they're like, what? And I go, 7 and 7. And then later I tell them, give me a 21. And they're like, a 21? I'm like, yeah, double 7 and 7. Oh, I drank a lot of 21s in my time, kids. Oh, my God. That was my weapon of choice. I don't drink those much now. If you've seen my video about the diabetes things, I try to cut back on the sugar now. Tonight, Super Bowl Eve, I will have a little fun. But yeah, I drink a lot of 21s in my time. Holy cow. But anyway, again, the the bottle thing, I understand why companies do it. Again, it adds perceived value, but I know just my experience with my company, I just didn't want to do that because, again, I wanted to try to sell it at $19.99 a bottle. Make it kind of reasonable. I want to go dirt cheap. Thanks, Harold. Yeah, I wasn't going to go dirt cheap on it either. I wasn't going to sell for $12.99. I had bills to pay and stuff like that. Hey, that's something, since we're kind of going on this thread now, something interesting you guys might find, and again, affects the pricing of it. The way spirits are taxed in the U.S. is based on the proof. So the higher the proof, the higher the tax. The base is 100 proof spirit. So if you produce 100 proof vodka, I believe the tax is like $13.15, $13.10 a gallon on produced. Well, most vodka is 80 proof, so it's only 80% of that tax rate. So 80% of the $13.15. If you made a 120 proof spirit, like some of these, like a good example is like Booker's Bourbon, which is normally like 125, 126, you pay 125% of that tax. So that's another thing. If you went higher proof on anything, you're gonna pay higher taxes. So look at that. So again, if you're out buying spirits and you see that, that is the cause of that, or that's part of the price moved on. Again, there's a lot of things that go into the price of a spirit. Again, the taxation on the proof, how much you put in a bottle, how long you gonna leave in a barrel. That's another cost. The average barrel, if I'm making a bourbon, you get. Have I tried Ron White's #1 tequila? Actually, the bar I work at, that might be the only celebrity tequila we haven't had. I've had The Rocks, I've had George Strait's, Michael Jordan's. Yeah, everybody's getting into that business. I haven't tried his product yet. I will give you a little scoop, though. Whatever tequila, if you see something like that and you're like, hey, I want to try that or whatever, look for, have I tried Real Shine? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a good story. When I was in college, I had a roommate in college who had family from Arkansas, good old real Ozark hillbillies. Well, I remember him and I were going back to our place on New Year's Eve. We were going to a New Year's Eve party. And I met him at his place, and I talked to his mom and dad. And he's like, hey, I got some for her. And his old man took us to the backyard, and he had a jar of real moonshine from Uncle whatever in the Ozarks. And he's like, boys, I got to show you something. Unscrews that jar, pours a little in his lawnmower, starts that thing up. There you go, boys. I was like, and let's just say I had a rough morning the next day. Yeah, so I have had the real stuff, and it is a kick in the nads. But as far as going back to Ron White's tequila, one thing I'll give you a hint. Whenever these celebrity tequilas come out, what have you, is on a bottle of tequila, there'll be a number called NOM, and it's a 4-digit number, and that is the number of the distillery. And you can look it up and see which actual distillery makes that and what other products they make. Most of these, especially these celebrity deals, they're contracting out with someone else. Again, The Rocks, George Strait's, Michael Jordan, Clooney, who made just an absolutely killing on his tequila. There's a number on there, and you can find out all the different products they make. And you'll see, some of them, oh, well, that's a good tequila too. That's good tequila too. this, that, and the other. And then somebody like, oh, that's right, good shit. It's made at that distillery. That's a great way to kind of tell. Now, that being said, every formulation is different. Good example is a reposado tequila. Reposados can be aged between 2 and 11 months in a barrel. So you can go to the same distillery and have a 2-month-old reposado, a 6-month-old, a 10-month-old reposado. Again, picking up more wood. So it's not necessarily just because something came from that distillery, not necessarily a quality indicator per se, but again, you can kind of see the products they put out, and that kind of gives you a gauge. Because again, a lot of these celebrity tequilas, the money goes not in the manufacturing because they're outsourcing it. The money goes into the marketing, the bottle, this, that, and the other. Jordan's tequila, has fancy. Jordan's tequila has like a fancy tall bottle. The Rocks is a little more basic bottle. He goes with a cork instead of the screw cap. This, that, and the other. But that's something to look for when these celebrities put out tequila. They'll give you a story, whatever, and part of the deal is they kind of like, well, I went down to Jalisco and went into the mountains and find this, niche little distillery or this agave field. Slow down. No celebs doing boxing. Or, you know what? Maybe if we let them have tequila and box, I would watch that. Let's give The Rock. Can we get The Rock and Michael Jordan liquored up and on their tequila and fight each other? I would pay for that. All right, fellas, I need another drink. Gentlemen, I'm feeling fine. How you guys doing? Like I said, I've got, not much going on. I want to keep this going. If not, let me know. The night is young, but I'm not. You know what? I'm switching to rum and OJ. Let's change things up. Speaking of rum, let's talk about rum. I got a great little story I can tell you guys. You guys will appreciate this. Years ago, Chris, what's going on, my man? Glad you can make it. Years ago, back when I used to do some cocktail competitions or whatever, I was in the United States Bartender Guilds, this, that, and the other. I did a competition for Bacardi, and several of us got to go to Harold, no rum. All right, everybody's got their own choice. Anyway, I got paid by Bacardi, got flown down to Puerto Rico to go to the Bacardi distillery. What a cool place or whatever. Now, the distillery itself looks like I got whiskey, Patriot fluids. I love a good American. Here's to you, Donnie. Anyway, I got flown down to Puerto Rico to go to the Bacardi distillery. Real interesting place. The distillery itself looks pretty industrial. And again, the process of distillation is kind of an industrial process. But they have a great campus. It's just outside of San Juan, a little bus ride. Very hot and humid down there. Oh, the big man. And that was back when I was really fat. Hot and sweaty down there. Beautiful country. But the campus is really great. They have, they have a little museum, the home offices. But out, they have this huge kind of open garden area and in the middle of it, they have this giant, it's not a tent, but it looks like a tent. And they have this outdoor bar, and you could just, well, hold on, Harold. It's not a problem. No. As long as you're in control, it's not a problem. It's just when you get out of control, like most of 1993 for me. But as long as it's in control, it's no problem. But anyway, they have this huge tent, and they have, if you're doing the tour, or if you're just down there for business like we were or whatever, they just have this bar, and they have a bartender, and just whatever you want. You want a pina colada? Here you go, rum and coke, whatever, mojito, this, that, and the other. And you just sit out, and you're in Puerto Rico, and it's 83 degrees, and there's a light breeze coming off the ocean, and you're drinking Mai Tais and pina coladas. Life's pretty good. If you ever get down there, and again, hopefully the world will straighten itself out, go down there. That's an absolute buzz. San Juan, Puerto Rico is a really, really cool town. Huge fan of Puerto Rico. Matthew McConaughey Wild Turkey Long Branch. You know who loved Wild Turkey Branch? And I don't know how old you are, 30 rounds, but I'm about to turn 50. Whatever you're my age or older, you might remember TV show Dallas. Well, the main villain in that show, the main character was J.R. Ewing, and his drink of choice was a Wild Turkey Branch, and and uh, so that always sticks in my mind. I love Wild Turkey. You might know the old Rolling Stones song "Wild Horses." I like seeing Wild Turkey couldn't drag me away. But anyway, back to Puerto Rico, San Juan. If you get a chance, the great thing about traveling to Puerto Rico is you don't need a passport because it is U.S. territory. They accept the dollar, and most people down there hablo inglés, so you can kind of get along. Go wherever they have. For whatever reason, food wise, in particular, they have McDonald's and Wendy's and all that stuff. Um, and they have the area called Viejo San Juan. It's the old downtown. And really cool area, great bars, great cigar lounges. I don't know if any of you guys love cigars, but I love a good cigar and a good cocktail or whatever, and you can get both down there. But just absolute cool scene. Um, the old San Juan is where the cruise ships come in. So every day, once or twice a day, the cruise ships will come in, the tourists will do their things and then leave. So you'll go down there and there'll be a rush of people, and you'll see all the gringos, other gringos down there. But San Juan's a cool town, fun, safe town. Don't let anybody tell you. And the best part is when you go down there for Bacardi, and everybody knows that you're with Bacardi. Well, they're going to take care of you. We had the Bacardi corporate card down there, and we had some fun. So if you ever get down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, check it out. What rum do I recommend? Well, rum. There's light rum, dark rums, this, that, and the other. I love Myers dark rum and OJ. I'll drink that stuff by the gallon. As far as like if I'm, when I've done things like cocktail competition stuff like that, I've used an Appleton rum. It's an aged rum, very nuanced, complex. Monte Cristo is a great rum. If you like the ultra aged rums, it's a Capa 23 is tough to beat. As far as again light rums, again you're kind of getting closer to vodka as far as like it's just a clean neutral spirit. And Bacardi's fine, and again it's used for cocktails. A lot of times you're adding, when you do mojitos, pina coladas, or whatever. There's no need to really go nuts. And the spiced rum, I'll take Sailor Jerry's over Captain Morgan's. I think it's a little more complex and nuanced. Again, a Captain Coke, whatever, just keep them coming. But I think as far as like a spiced rum, dark rums, like I said, I'm really a Myers guy, but the Kraken has a unique flavor. I did a cocktail competition where Kraken was the rum. It's kind of unique, but also because it's kind of quirky, it's kind of tough for the cocktail thing. You're trying to match or pair or contrast with some kind of flavor. If you're trying to match it with passion fruit puree or something like that, it's a little tougher to work with. But rum wise, those are kind of more favorite rums. And I'm kind of with Donnie. I'm more of a whiskey guy, so I'm not the biggest rum expert. But every once in a while, I like to get in the mood for rum. It's hard to beat. Oh boy. Oh dear, yeah. No. We don't want to ever, we don't ever get to that point where it becomes a real problem with drinking. I get it. You guys can imagine. Guy my age, been bartending as long or whatever. I've danced with that devil in the bottom of a bottle. Don't don't go there. Take it. Just anything. Try to take some time off. Take a weekend off. Just kind of distance. Get your head clear. In my video about the diabetes, that was kind of my deal for a while. Was just again 7 and 7s and just so much sugar and stuff like that. You don't want to cross that path. Let's keep the party going longer but safer. that's my thing on that. Where are we at? Hold on, I'm going to check real quick. Where are we at time wise? All right, we're about an hour and a half in, a little over an hour and a half in. We might go for a little bit, another 10, 15 minutes, whatever you guys feel like doing here. Out here, I think we're only at like 8:30. Yeah, we're about 8:30, 8:46 at night. So the night's still young out here in Vegas. Even though I don't think I want to go rage or do anything like that. We got a big Super Bowl party tomorrow. Like I said, I'm making some snack sticks. Don't know what the cocktail of choice is going to be tomorrow. I got a good feeling wine might be involved. The party I'm going to go to, a nicer house, a little more respectable crowd than the average band of deviants I'm normally around with. We may go with wine tomorrow or something slightly more sophisticated than that. Yeah, that's another thing too sad about this year's Super Bowl. This town throws some great Super Bowl parties. D-Clan, what's going on? No, unfortunately, I do not have KC. I don't know if you've caught the news or not, D-Clan. Little thing today, and I don't know what the effect's going to be, but I don't think it's a positive for KC. Andy Reid's son, who is a coach for the Chiefs, got popped for a DUI the night before the game, and he had his kids in the car. Probably not something he should do the night before the Super Bowl. I don't know if that team needs that kind of distraction. Even though I can see where you would say, no, Kansas City's a better team. They're defending champs. Pat Mahomes, tough to beat. I don't doubt that at all. At 3-point spread, that's pretty tight. I think there's more value in Tampa Bay than Kansas City. So that's where I'm going on that. I also like the over. Again, that you could take that. 56 is a decently higher number, or it used to be, but I think nowadays the NFL scores so much. 56 is actually a pretty attainable number with that. So life is too short to think. Well, I don't know. I know some sports bettors that would argue with you on that one. 6-layer bean dip, Veggie tray, hamburgers. You know what? Speaking of hamburgers, I'm actually making, and this will be a future YouTube video, I'm making cheeseburger snack sticks. If you're regular to the channel, I've been making snack sticks. Part of the deal was I wanted a low-carb snack for my diabetes or whatever, and so I've gotten to beef jerky making, snack sticks making, and I'm going to make some cheeseburger snack sticks for the game tomorrow. Hopefully they turn out well. I got a feeling they probably will turn out just fine. That's part of the fun about the Super Bowl thing now is like it's almost not about the game anymore. And don't get me wrong, the hardcore bettors out here, stuff like that, but now there's you got things like the Puppy Bowl on TV and who's the halftime show and what are we going to make for the game and this, that, and the other. Years past, I've been to parties that people brought different kind of nachos. What is a snack stick? A good example, Slim Jim. You go to the convenience store, you buy Pat, not to get political or anything like that, I'm not really worried about the coronavirus. I've actually had it before. About this time last year, coronavirus came early to Vegas. We get international travelers are all over, and about this time last year, we had Chinese New Year. And so we kind of got it first. The place I worked at, the bar inside the casino I worked at, we all kind of, we all got sick around the same time, and a couple of the girls tested positive. I tested positive for the antibodies, but when I took the test, it was months down the line. Well, my doctor told me I probably had it. I had the antibodies, but it went 100% confirmation. So it's already kind of gone through out here to a certain extent. So no, we're not doing the mask. And I'm not going to a huge party, friend's house kind of thing. Now the casinos, everything's about the mask, this, that, and the other. Who here has 30 of sobriety? 30 of sobriety. I'm not sure what that means I don't think I go. I get it. No, this coronavirus things. Everybody's different. Everybody has different health issues, what have you. I totally get that. Um, what have you. Just 30 years of sobriety. Good for you, Harold. Congratulations. That is great. Tobacco scorpion sauce. Holy cow, that sounds a little spicy. Love it. One more drink. So, but yeah, no, the coronavirus thing, I get everybody's, got their own thing. Like I said, I've kind of gone through it already. So, what's your take on Proper 12 Irish whiskey? I tried it, I think it's about last year. You know what? Not bad. For the price, too. It's a reasonably priced whiskey, well executed. To me, there's almost a bourbon quality to it, even though it's an Irish whiskey. I actually prefer it over Jameson. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm drinking gallons of Jameson water, but I think Proper 12 is something I'd probably drink more on the rocks, where like Jameson, all right, Jameson and ginger, or the shot, or that kind of thing. But no, I think it's actually decently executed whiskey, from what I gather. Connor's actually kind of evolved in the process, what have you. No, I think it's a well-executed whiskey at its price. I like it. And the thing with Irish whiskeys is there are some, I don't know if you guys ever tried the pot still whiskeys or whatever. They are really some excellent whiskeys, but Irish whiskeys aren't viewed as Scotch whiskeys as far as like 12 years and 15 years and 18 years and this, that, and the other. It's everybody kind of, when they think Irish whiskey, they think of Jameson and frat parties, Jameson and ginger, and just. But I think he did a good job. No, like I said, and that's the thing. If you, weren't a person that went out much anyway, again, you wouldn't. Do I like Green Spot? Man, it's been years since I tried. But I remember thinking it was a well executed whiskey. If it's the one I'm thinking of, well executed whiskey. Like I said, on that one, D-Clan. Yeah, no. Now, see, you bring up the nightclub thing. I got a feeling it's going to be a while before the night. Years ago, out here, the nightclubs became the biggest thing in Vegas. It kind of drove the whole thing. Every casino wanted a big nightclub with Tiesto and Calvin Harris and all those big names. I got a feeling those days are gone out here. There'll be some kind of nightclub. People. The girls still want to go dance. Guys still want to meet girls, and casinos, nightclub want to overcharge for bottles of Grey Goose. So there'll still be something like that. But I think our nightclub days, as far as focusing on nightclubs out here, Sky Vodka is actually made from, it's outsourced. I think it's San Francisco is where the company's based. Produced by Sky Spirits San Francisco. No, hold on. Produced by Sky Spirits San Francisco. Now this is saying New York. What I want to say, part of it's produced somewhere else, where part of the problem, again, with the label is they'll tell you where the company is based, this, that, and the other, but not always where it's distilled, or, and you guys may have seen me talk about this before, Tito's Vodka is a prime example of this. And I love Tito. I've met him several times, had drinks with him several times. Great guys. The truth is, a lot of these vodkas, and Tito's is, again, an example, they will buy neutral grain spirits from these big ethanol producers like Archer Daniel Midland in the Midwest. Tito ships it down to Texas, then runs it through his still one more time, and now he says, well, wait a minute, now, this is distilled X time, it's pure, look how great it is, and it's Texan. It was distilled 5 times in Indiana and 1 time in Texas. And there's a lot of that going on, so just let you know. Been to raves more for girls and drugs. I get it. I get it. We all get it. Don't even enjoy. You know what? I used to love rock concert. God, I used to love concert. And part of it's just getting older, not so much in the COVID. But I remember seeing ZZ Top in 1990 with Steve Miller and Santana opening in the old Cotton Bowl in Texas. 80,000 people. hell of a show, good time. I don't know if I'd do it again. It was like they had like one or two other opening acts. You got there at noon. We left at like 11 at night. It was like a 12-hour shift out in the sun. I've done several of those festivals. Van Halen was my band, and I've seen them plenty of times. And again, good times when you're 21 or whatever. Now the crowds. I've seen a few concerts here in Vegas. Man, that's one great thing about living in Vegas. They all come through. I've seen Hall & Oates, Clapton, a few other shows. You get to see. I remember my first weekend I moved to town at MGM. I think Friday night was the Stones. Saturday night was the Who. We're back to it. You can't beat that. You can't. That's tough to beat. But and another thing about living out here in Vegas, if you go to concerts, it's a little different experience. You know, they have a lot of high rollers. The casinos are laid out different, more security. There's not quite the buffoonery of like going to Lollapalooza or whatever. Yeah, like I said, 30 rounds. The Irish whiskey deal, I mean, they're starting to expand. There's starting to be more brands. It wasn't that long ago. There was only 3 distilleries in Ireland. So there was Jameson's, there was Bushmills, and I can't remember the third distillery. I know like there was brands like Michael Collins, where they're all kind of the same. Irish whiskey's triple distilled and compared to double distilled for Scotch, so it's a little smoother, but it's also a little lighter. And again, the connoisseurs will say, well, it's a little light, it's a little too soft for the palate. You know, the Scotch, you get the peat. Irish whiskey, they weren't aging, 18, 25, 30 years like they do the Scotch. But that's starting to change in Ireland. Like I said, the pot distilled whiskeys, which are Irish whiskeys, there's not a ton of those, but check those out. Those are definitely excellent whiskeys. Dennis, salute, my man. All right, I'm going to fresh up the drink again. We're going to go back to the fuzzy navel just because I want to finish that peach schnapps off. Oh, but yeah, getting back to the concert thing and the nightclub and all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't necessarily enjoy it, but I hope it comes back to Vegas because, God, we really need the people out here, and this is what that is what Vegas is supposed to be. I love this town when there's a fight in town, when there's a concert in town, and then we have maybe a hockey game in town, and then it's just Vegas anyway. Yeah. I didn't talk about this in the update, but maybe we'll touch on this a little bit. The vibe in Vegas is terrible right now. There used to be an energy. I used to just love to walk up and down the strip. Man, when I first moved to town, I was broke, so I didn't necessarily go gamble or anything like that. Vegas for a long time, and there's still some spots. You can drink cheap. You can go have fun on the Las Vegas strip for $20. There was 2 or 3 joints that had $2 Coronas, and you could find the old Casino Royale had dollar Michelobs and 99-cent margaritas. And there were several of those joints up and down the strip, so you could hit those. You could kill an evening and spend $20 and still tip bartender. I mean, you weren't being cheap there. You could still throw, if you bought a dollar Michelob, give them 2, one for the bartender and one for the beer, and everybody was a winner and everything. And the vibe, I just wanted to be there. I used to joke that I would love to go in the middle of Las Vegas Boulevard and just roll around, let it wash over me. Unfortunately, the vibe's not like that now. And again, I understand the limitations of whatever, but it's already been kind of moving that way. Again, we became real nightclub centric for a while, real convention centric, which is not necessarily bad. The convention crowd can actually be pretty fun because a lot of times it's they have the generic insurance salesman conference, and you get these guys from Sheboygan or Evansville or wherever, and they let it out, and so it's kind of fun to watch those guys. But the thing is, like I said, the casinos are open and some of the restaurants and all that stuff, but like the strip clubs aren't open and some of that other stuff. You know, even the street freaks aren't out there as much. You know, the guys dressed in Smurf outfits, you give them $5 to take a photo. Those guys aren't even working much anymore, and it kind of is taking the vibe out. I hope we get it back, but who knows? Let's see where we at time wise. All right, we'll do about another minute or so and then kind of wrap up. We're almost 2 hours. Like I said, any other, if you guys, any other questions or whatever, something to chat about, let me know. If not, well, cheap margaritas outside the Bellagio. I'm trying to think. Now, years ago, south of the Bellagio, where they built that city center, there was a monorail that used to connect the Bellagio to the old Monte Carlo. It's called Park MGM now. Between that was, I think they employed parking garage for the Bellagio. I don't remember how they did that. But there's a monorail that connected the two properties, and in front, actually, that was where a lot of if you took a Montana, Donnie, we can talk about Montana. I was there this summer. Beautiful area. But anyway, there's a monorail that connected to them. In between, there was the parking garage, and the back side was a parking garage, I think, for the casinos. In the front, though, there's 2 or 3 little bars, stuff like that. Actually, there was a helicopter pad. If you took the helicopter ride to the Grand Canyon, which is a big deal here, it used to land there. Now I think it lands at the airport. There used to be, one of the favorite things I saw, and I never did, and I wish I did, but on that little strip of land, there used to be a place where you could rent a Corvette or a Porsche or something, for the day and drive up and down the strip. And I had a buddy that loved Corvettes, and we always talked about just cruising the strip in a Corvette, But yeah, there was a little bar down there that had cheap booze, stuff like that, and I can't remember it. If you went further down, actually one of the favorite little casinos, old school, was called the Boardwalk. It had a little roller coaster, and it looked like a replica of the Boardwalk, New Jersey. And they were famous for the only 24-hour buffet in Las Vegas. And I want to say it was that weekend I went to the Roy Jones fight. We hit the buffet at 3 in the morning, and I might eat 5 pounds of spaghetti. But, Donnie, yes, you were talking about Montana. What is my favorite? What are your favorite drinks? Let me get to Donnie first, Pat, and then I'll answer that question. This summer, not working and the casinos were closed, this, that, and the other, me and a buddy of mine just, hey, let's hit the road, let's get out of town. And we ended up going up through Utah, hit Yellowstone, Grand Teton. We ended up spending up some time in Montana. One of my regulars has a place in Montana, told me to stop by. Oh, beautiful up there. I can definitely do summers up there. I don't know if I want to do winters up there. It sounds a little tough, but Montana is beautiful. We tried to go to a bar, and Donnie, maybe you know about this place. South of Three Forks was, oh God. It was a dive bar that was supposedly in like GQ magazine, this, that, and the other. Can't remember the name of it, but we drove 30, 40 miles off the interstate. And the funny part, we were driving, somebody told me that. I'm like, all right, we started driving. I remember I forgot to get gas. And we're out in the middle of nowhere and the gas light's on. I'm like, screw me, I'm that. And we pull in this town, it's called Hamilton, something like that. I can't remember the name of the little town. I asked, like, ladies, are you in a gas station? And she goes, well, go down the road and there's a bar and just go behind the bar. And I'm like, well, that don't sound right. She's going to trust me. And there's just it was one gas pump. It had a little credit card thing. And then we had one, just regular unleaded. There was nothing else. And, saved the day. But Pony, Montana. That was the name of it. It was called the Pony Bar in Pony, Montana. I think Pony, Montana has like 250 people. And we went to check out this bar, and it wasn't open yet. But we talked to some guys, sitting up the band. But it was classic, just old bar that had been around 100 years and everything. But, yeah, I could do some time in Montana, Donnie. That is great. Pat, talking about my favorite drinks. Like I was saying earlier, I went on a streak of 7 and 7s. Just for whatever reason, if I was, playing video poker, 7 and 7 was my drink. My younger days, I loved Jack and Coke. Was a big Jack and Coke guy. Nowadays, actually, recently, partly because of my diabetes, I don't need that much sugar. I've actually started drinking Chevison water. If I'm out and about in Vegas, Chevison water. Hey, I love Scotch. The older I've got, the more I appreciate the subtle nuances of Scotch, and a little Scotch and water. I actually think water, is good with Scotch. Kind of opens it up a little bit. Also, too, if you're just drinking Scotch on the rocks, straight Scotch, that could be a long night. Um, Luckily, one of the great things about being a bartender out here is, other bartenders in other places, they generally take care of you, give you a good pour. So, I love a good Chivas and water now. I think earlier in this stream, I said that I'd gotten a little stretch on wine. I've really gotten into red. I'm not a white wine guy. Just kind of the acidity of the white wine kind of gets to me. But a good Malbec or a nice Pinot Noir every once in a while. Love that. And of course, all kinds of beers. If you watch my beer video, I'm not an IPA guy. I'm more of a malt forward guy. Your Box, your Scottish ales, a lot of the classic German styles I really like. They're more malt forward, less hop forward, and again, they're just classic, well executed beers. I do love the crazier beers. I was mentioning earlier, Belching Beaver. What they do, they have several beers with peanut butter in it, and I love peanut butter. And what they do with it is very impressive to me. Prune juice wine. Sounds like a challenge. I like where your head's at. It's like this. You remind me, I used to have in college, and I don't know how old you gentlemen are, or like I said, I'm about turned 50, so I was starting college in 89, 90. I used to have a buddy. The big deal for us back then was Boone's Farm, Strawberry Hill. Strawberry Hills forever. But we used to sit in class and joke about different flavors of Boone's Farm. We'd come up, and he kept talking about prunes, boons. We would just laugh for hours about prunes, boons. So who knows? Maybe I might make some prunes, boons. Yeah, Boone's Farm. That you were asking about my favorite drinks. Not now, but when I was in college, Boone's Farm was huge. I went to school at the University of North Texas, and there was a grocery store just off campus, and they used to sell 3 bottles of Boone's Farm for $5. Well, me and the guys would go in together and just buy a case. And one of our great things we used to do, and if you young men, if any of you young guys are in college and like the young ladies, we used to do a deal called Stupid Movie Night. We would invite these girls, they are maybe not maybe not 21 years old, legal drinking age, I'm not saying, but we invite them over and we would get like Porky's or Blues Brothers or some stupid movie at Blockbuster back in the day when you did that stuff, and we would break out. The ladies loved the Strawberry Hill, or maybe the country, what was it called, Country Quenchers, like their apple one or whatever. We'd bust it out for the ladies, and we'd have some too, and that was our night. Drinking Boone's Farm with young ladies watching the Blues Brothers or something like that. I think, oddly enough, I think Boone's Farm now has all kinds of crazy flavors, or they've expanded the line a little bit. I was more of a Boone's Farm guy, not a Mad Dog. I know that's, especially in 2020, people bringing up Mad Dog 2020. I was more of a Boone's Farm guy, not a Mad Dog. Don't get me wrong, I've had gin is a big boy drink. Me and gin have not gone along. I respect people that make it, this, that, and the other. I think I did a video where I had a homemade gin kit where I made homemade gin. There was a kit that had all that. Let's say I've gone a round or two with gin, and it's one every time. Pouilly-Voussé is a great white wine. Yeah. And they make an excellent vermouth too, and I'm not a big vermouth drinker, but it is favorite. Thunderbird or Night Train. I think I danced that dance in like 1992. When I was at college, there was a convenience store near campus, near where I lived, that was going out of business, and so they just sold everything cheap. And I think Thunderbird was one of those that we tried into. The big thing they did, and again, I'm showing my age a little bit, but when they were closing that convenience store, wanted to clear everything out, they sold 40 ounces of Old English for 58 cents a piece. And me and my buddies went and bought like 5, 6 each or whatever. And, ooh, And that was another one in college. I did the malt liquor thing for a while in college. 92 when I got up to North Texas to school. Snoop Dogg, Dre was huge. Gangster rap. Every generic white suburbanite kid in college was listening to gangster rap. So we were getting, I can't remember which Dr. Dre video. There's a classic Dr. Dre video where they open the refrigerator and it's just all these 40s laying sideways. It's just absolutely packed. And me and my buddies like, we're doing that. And so we would buy 40 ounces and I had some terrible hangovers. What's the word? Thunderbird. You damn right. I think Stevie Ray Vaughan did a cover of that song. Peaches and cream, Boone's Farm. What kind of mad scientist? I'd love to shake his hand. Boone's Farm. Oh my God, peaches and cream. You know what? That is something. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on this theoretically. Man, it's unbelievable the stuff they're coming with flavor-wise, this, that, and the other. And that was something I kind of learned when I started my spirits business, because there was several different ways we were going to approach it. Like when I created the base formula for it, I used real apple cider. I used real cinnamon sticks, cloves, stuff like that for my formulation. Well, when you go into mass production, you have to have something more shelf stable. So they end up kind of using certain elixirs, extracts, this, that, and the other. And one of the deals one of the options I had at one time was that a company said, well, we'll produce just a neutral spirit and you go to a flavor contractor. I'm like, a flavor contractor? Yeah, there's these companies that just create flavors and they create an extract that's shelf stable. And you can do that. And I remember contacting this company that, again, was I can't remember that they were named Flavored Ink or whatever. It was Flavor something, and that's all they did. And they're like, well, we got this and that. We got mulberry and quisenberry, whatever berry, this, that, and the other, oatmeal cookie, and holy cow. And again, this was 10 plus years ago. And nowadays, again, you want bubble gum, molasses, this, that, and the other. You create any flavor. And it's unbelievable. And it's coming out now. And again, it started with the flavored vodkas, and now we're getting flavored tequilas. I see like Doors even has flavors, the flavored whiskeys, Jim Beam, of course, the Fireball thing, what have you. It's part of me loves that, and it loves the creativity. And the other half's when I see peanut butter whiskey, I want to punch someone. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like I said, I love the creativity. I just think some of the products that are coming out, I just have to shake my head. Do we need this? I guess is the big question. And more importantly, I kind of understand, if you're going to roll out a new product, just the cost of that, even if you're Jim Beam, this, that, and the other, the cost to start a new product, get the formulation, passed by the federal government, get the, Donnie, good to see you, brother. Be well, my man. Come back anytime. Fireball is the boss. You know what? I'm tortured by the Fireball. Part of me likes it. I love a good time. The other half, one thing, it's really sweet. It's kind of syrupy. Again, I'm talking to the channel. I'm trying to move away from that sugary kind of stuff, even though, again, tonight I'm drinking screwdrivers and stuff. I do say this, though. The marketing behind Fireball on several different levels is really impressive. Again, how quickly they caught on. The hotel that I used to work at before COVID was real high end. However, I was stunned by the number of high rollers that wanted it. I will not name the name, but a regular man that is a big-time major professional athlete or whatever comes in and just fire, and it's like frat boys when he comes in, and it's just like, holy cow, who? And he's not a kid, this is not a 21-year-old, this is an older athlete, and I'm just like, holy cow, how can you just like a frat boy and everything? And I mean, like I said, everybody has their own deal, but I can't do it. The only time I really drink Fireball, and I think you guys might have seen the videos, is I do the Santa Rampage with the big pub crawl with all the drunk Santas. We'll break out the fireball that night, and that's what it's for. But I'm not Irish car bombs, D-Clan. You know what? I loved a good Irish car bomb. I used to bartend. One of the million bartending jobs I've had in my life was at Bennigan's. I don't know if any of you guys remember the chain Bennigan's. It was, I think, TGI Fridays / Irish pub, and working there, and they let us have a few. And yeah, I made a million Irish car bombs, and I drank a few of them myself. So yeah, that's one of those things. Yeah, all right, let's have fun, do a shot, and then we kind of move on. Pub crawl. I love a good pub crawl. One of the things I've seen out here that, and I don't know where this started, or, but I remember years ago when I started at the casino I'm at now, I remember these college-age kids come in, and they're all dressed in golf outfits, the kind of the knickers and all that stuff, and everything, and they were literally carrying putters behind them, and they had the hats and everything. They played 18 holes. They would pick out 18 bars on the casino, on the strip that they were going to hit. And I think the gag was if you had a beer, that was par. If you had a mixed drink, it was a birdie. And I think if you did a shot, it was an eagle. If you didn't drink, if you just had water or punted, basically, it was a bogey. And they would they would score the 18 holes, and they carried this big scorecard. God, that was great. And there were several people. It wasn't just one group do that. And I thought that was a great idea for a pub crawl. I'm going to presume you guys that are on right now are some of our regulars to this channel, or you might have seen the post I put on last week or 2 weeks ago about a pub crawl I did about 10 years ago. Out here in Vegas, there's a chain of pubs. Out here, if you're a local artist, the video poker bars that are kind of the big thing out here. And there's a chain out here. The biggest chain is called PT's. And it's a huge chain. And at the time, I remember me and my roommate at the time, we'd go to different parts of town and you see all these PTs. I'm like, how many of these PTs? And I remember asking a bartender, and he was like, I think we got 30 of them, whatever. And we used to joke about, hey, we need to hit every one of those. And what our plan was at the time is just, maybe each week had a different one, but somehow we got this idea, well, screw it, let's just do it all in one shot. And we did this pub crawl. We started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, and we ended at 8 o'clock at Thursday, 8 p.m. on Thursday. 30 hours, and there was 34 of them. We hit 34 bars in 30 hours, and I had a different drink at each one. And funnily enough, and the link I posted was they did an article about us in the local, every town has the little town magazine, the Dallas Observer, here's the Vegas Weekly, this, that, and the other. And they actually did an article, and that link and that picture is to that article. And I tell people all the time, I'm not the Michael Jordan of drinking, but I'm damn sure the Larry Bird of drinking. So if you guys find that, it's in the community tab. If you want to see that, you'll get a laugh out of it. And I looked back at it the other day because it had been exactly 10 years, and I just like, how the world did I pull that off? And everything. And people ask me today if I want to do it again, and I think now PT's is like 60 pubs where there's no way I can do that. Harold, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, Bennigan's. I was still 30 rounds, you caught the Bennigan's reference. I was telling somebody, Bennigan's was a great place to bartend. They're very bartender friendly. One of the great things they would do is their big day, of course being an Irish pub, was St. Paddy's Day. And St. Paddy's Day was one day of the year that no one cared, no management wire cared if you had one or not. Is that video poker rigged? Well, I'll get back to Bennigan's, but let me ask Pat's question. Yes and no. Mathematically, the way the pay tables work, and that's where the math comes in, 99.99% of the games, the video poker machines in Vegas, have a negative pay table, where if you played a million hands, you should expect to lose. Now, there are machines in town that do have a more than 100% payback. And And so mathematically, again, if you could play 1,000,000 hands, you would come out ahead. There are a few of those machines in town. What the rub is, especially on the video poker machines, is if you're a local like me and you go to the bar, if you play video poker, you get free drinks. And also, too, a guy like me that bartends, you know the bartender, so now you're getting strong drinks for free while you play video poker. And if you're local Las Vegan, you kind of gamble anyway. It's just kind of what happens out here. Now, not to get too deep on the video poker thing, but you can. There are people out here that actually do make a living on video poker, and I'll explain how they do it. A machine might have a 99.8% return. So just a 0.2% profit margin. But again, over 1,000,000 hands, the casino make whatever. And that's if you play perfectly. Now, there's a lot of tourists that come out and get drunk, and they don't. There is mathematics to the game of video poker. And so they'll play at like maybe 98%, 97% effectiveness, what have you. So there's plenty of profit margin. But if you can find a machine that's at like 99.8%, and you can play perfectly, mathematically perfectly, well, these casinos also have a video poker club. And a lot of times you can make 0.4, 0.5% return on that. So now that 99.8% game is now a 100.2% game. Technically, you can play at a profit, and if you play enough and play big enough, there are actually people that play professional video poker out here. I am not one of them, but you can do it. Theoretically, you can do it. So is it rigged? Well, normally the mathematics of the game are against you, but if you can play perfectly and whatever that, and again, use the slot clubs. Some of these casinos will have double point days. You get double player points, and so if you play smart, and if any of you guys, and I know this gentleman, that's why I'll give him the plug. There's a great website called LasVegasAdvisor.com. Gentleman named Anthony Curtis. If you've seen back in the day, the Travel Channel would have all these Vegas videos, and they'd have a gaming expert. Anthony's a gaming expert. He's been on Bar Rescue before. John Taffer. But John Taffer has remodeled some of these bars out here, and he'll bring Anthony in to coach him up on how to set up their gaming programs. Anthony's unbelievable. One of the great gaming minds of all time. And he has a website. He kind of will break down a lot of the stuff for you. They sell books on properly, again, betting proper ways. Because most of the games, well, vast majority of the games, the house has an advantage, but there's a way to, shrink that advantage. There are some games where technically you can win. Again, video poker's one. If you find the right machine and the right slot club, this, that, and the other, technically you can have an advantage. Obviously, poker, because you're playing against other people and not really against the house, you can have an advantage. That's why we have Doyle Brunson, Phil Ivey, Phil Hellmuth, all those names. And then sports betting, technically you have the option to always pick the right game. Now, whether you can do it or not, that's a different deal. Also, too, as I was explaining earlier, how that VIG, the house profit comes, they want half the people on one side, half the people on the other side. A good example is the game tomorrow. Is Kansas City technically 3 points better than Tampa Bay? Who knows? I'm not skilled enough to say, but the public thinks that, again, that number 3, half the people think yes, half the people think no, and that's how they make their profit. The smart sports bettor can look at that and know, oh, no, this team is clearly more than 3 points better, or more than 3 point under, and there are profitable sports bettors. If you guys feel a little nerdy, or want to go to YouTube, look at a gentleman named Billy Walters. He was the largest sports bettor in Las Vegas. Right now he's in a federal penitentiary. You can thank Phil Mickelson for that if you want to look into that story. But Billy literally is so big that he couldn't, I was telling you earlier that you just can't place $1 million bets. And Billy had such a reputation that casinos didn't take his action. So he had runners, random other people go run bets, in $10, $15, $20, $30,000 increments. And Billy would get to the point where, again, tomorrow's game's a perfect example. The spread's 3 points. And he thinks, well, it really should be 4 points. He can send enough money out to move the line to 1 point, and then he goes big the other direction. Again, sports betting is one of those games you can beat. It's just tough. Again, I don't have the connections, wherever. E-Clan, good seeing you, brother. So that is, as far as you're asking about rigged games, where every other game the house has a pretty big advantage. Roulette, craps, this, that, and the other. Craps does have kind of a small house advantage on what's called the pass don't pass line. Basically, is this roller going to win his roll or not? The house advantage actually is kind of small on that particular bet, so that's a game with a smaller house advantage. But everything else, the house is going to win. But it's not rigged. Video poker, there's a computer chips inside that are what's called a random number generator. Supposedly they randomly create the hands. Mathematically, it's supposed to act like a regular 52 card deck. So it's not necessarily rigged in that sense. It's the pay table that's kind of rigged. It's not, you're going to get an ace as many times as you should get an ace in a random 52 card deck. It's, are you getting paid the right amount for that ace? And that's the real question. And that's, if you come out here and gamble, that's what you want to strive for, making the best possible decision. Even though you're most likely an underdog, you want to be less of an underdog. And it's all random chance. You can randomly win. I saw the other day somebody hit for $900,000 on a random slot machine. You see it happen. It can happen. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this party up. I'm full of orange juice and random booze, and be in the restroom. Gentlemen, have a great Super Bowl. Thanks for showing up. This is a good time. Again, I might start doing these once a quarter, something like that. If you guys have any ideas for maybe a theme or something, who knows? Maybe St. Patty's Day. I have to see where that falls on the calendar, something like that. Gentlemen, have a good night. Salute to you, brothers.